Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining. I can see that the number of attendees are rising, and we're very happy that you had an opportunity to be here today with us. Just a few minutes, we're still waiting for the number of people, and we'll start our market discovery workshop that is dedicated to Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, and Czech Republic. And I think we can start our workshop as for now. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is Seeds of Bravery initiative. And today you've joined the Market Discovery Workshop, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, and Czech Republic. We've been crafting it for like 3 months, collecting all the experts, asking them to join, to be here for you. So we are excited. Hope you're excited too. Abby, next slide. So my name is Anastasia Lubisheva, and I'm Program Development Manager at Vacuum to Tech Acceleration. And this workshop is organized not just by Vacuum to Tech Acceleration, but also thanks to Plug and Play Tech Center, thanks to AccessBeak, and of course, all of our experts from different countries that were able to join. Right now, I will present you with a workshop agenda. Next slide. So today we'll have an introduction of the Seeds of Bravery initiative from Carolina from Plug and Play Tech Center, and as well as we'll have 3 sections. First section will be dedicated to how to navigate local markets. It will be around 1 hour and a half with the start Natalia Petrova from Strategies. She'll be a moderator and she'll present a global map and regional trends for you guys. Then we'll proceed with the Hungary overview by Joseph, Hungarian Innovation Agency, and Csongor from Startup Hungary. We'll have Romania overview by Adina, a Raw Startup, and Mircea he's a board member, Raw Startup, and managing partner at Activize. Then we've decided to add some activity and interactivity for you so that you'll have first-hand experience from startup from Romania, presented by Anna Maria Sintikal. Then we'll proceed with our experts from Bulgaria, Svetoslav Gabrova, as well as the Czech Republic, presented by Dusan. And also we'll have a startup experience from Czech Republic by Pavel Neuron Soundware. The next section, we'll have a short break for 5 minutes, and after that we'll proceed with the section number 2, how to set up a business and avoid failure. And here we have our experts from DLA Piper, moderated by Anna Kalinichenka. On Czech Republic we'll have Petr, on Romania we'll have Andrei, and on Hungary we'll have Balázs. From all of these experts are from DLA Piper, as well as then overview on Bulgaria we'll have by Veronika Jaskatam, and at the very end we'll have a Q&A session. Also a 5 minutes break for you guys to sip some coffee and rest. And the third section, last but not least, I would say, is how to raise investments. We'll have it for around 1 hour. The presentation and overview on investment landscape, as well as the moderator of the panel discussion will be Ivan Petrenka. He's from Angel One Venture. And then the panel discussion, we will have 3 panelists. It's Malin from Tech Angels, Roman from Presto Ventures, and Belizar from 11 Ventures. And at the end, we'll have a wrap-up and present you all the opportunities from Seeds of Bravery that you can join. And for now, I'm really pleased to present you Carolina. I know that Carolina is one of the partners on the consortium, and I know that Carolina today has a birthday as well. So Carolina, thank you so much for joining, and wishing you all the happiness in the world, and happy birthday for you. So the floor is yours to present Seeds of Bravery.
Thank you, Anastasia, and thank you for those kind wishes. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to just spend a short 5 minutes describing the Seeds of Bravery project. Probably if you are at this workshop, you've already heard of Seeds of Bravery, so we will keep it short. And I will have a call to action at the end. So as Anastasia already said, stay around until the end of the workshop to also find out how you can participate in future programs for Seeds of Bravery, because there's a lot to offer right now. So we can move on to the next slide. Where you'll see that in total, Seeds of Bravery is a 20 million euro project funded by the European Innovation Council, most specifically the European Innovation and SME Executive Agency. So it's a separate body under the European Innovation Council. And the entire aim of this project is to support the whole scope of Ukrainian entrepreneurs, tech startups, scale-ups, individuals, and more. Really with the purpose to create bridges between Ukraine, the rest of the EU, and the global innovation ecosystem, let's say. And we have a variety of initiatives that will support in a lot of different, let's say, innovation-related activities. So whether you are a individual scientist looking to go more into the let's say, innovation ecosystem and start your own startup, we have a program for you. Whether you are a startup that is more developed in the technology readiness, ready for commercial activity, we also have programs available for you. So we have a lot of things going on. This market discovery workshop is just one of the many workshops also that are coming in the future. So happy to give a bit more context as to what is out there for you and how you can participate in the future. If you can move to the next slide, please. So as you could already see, maybe also from a previous LinkedIn promotion, we are a very big consortium working on this project. In total, we have more than 17 organizations, including also associated partners, who are contributing in this project and executing all of these programs that we will lay out for you. We are a quite diverse consortium, so covering also a large geographic coverage, so from EU, but also extending to the global ecosystem with certain partners having, of course, basis in Ukraine, but also certain partners also have access to or are based in other parts of the world, including USA, Asia, and more. So the whole aim of having such a diverse consortium is to really support in these diverse programs that we have on offer for you. Each partner has its own strengths and also access to different innovation ecosystems and stakeholders all over the world. So we come together as one consortium under Seeds of Bravery to really foster this bridge between Ukraine and the global innovation ecosystems. Now, what does this all mean in practice? If we go to the next slide, you will see a total of 5 programs that are available for all entrepreneurs to apply to. Of course, each program is tailored to a specific technology readiness level, so this will depend on your own individual situation, which program is the most relevant for you. And in total, there is up to 60,000 euros available in non-refundable grants for a successful completion of the program. So maybe some of you participants here are already participating in the program. We really are having a great time working with all of you in the individual programs. We have open call dates upcoming at the end of September as well for every program. So if you want to know more, you can always check our website. But also on the next slide, I can really give a bit more of information as to what's available outside of these programs. So where those programs focus on typical incubation and acceleration programs filled with workshops, masterclasses, boot camps, a big focus on tailored mentoring and dedicated mentoring to your own ambitions and milestones that you would like to receive. Next to those programs, we also have a lot of additional opportunities for you in Seeds of Bravery. Market Discovery and Fast Track program is one of them where we are here today. But next to that, we also have access to additional financing mechanisms, access to matchmaking activities with the consortium, access to investors, accelerators, stakeholders, and more. We have certain programs dedicated to female entrepreneurship and leadership, so really focusing also on skills and capacity building for female entrepreneurs. And a lot more. So I could speak forever about this, but probably the most relevant is for you to jump onto our website. And later, Anastasia will also explain how you can have access to the future open call programs. I already see Anastasia coming up, cutting me off. So
timing.
Yes.
Carolina, thank you so much for joining and presenting the Seeds of Bravery project. I'm happy to work with you. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Have a great workshop.
Thanks. And we're ready to move to the section number 1. And on the section number 1, we'll have Natalia Petrova. Natalia Petrova is a moderator right now on the workshop, and she's the CEO of The Strategist, a US-based nonprofit dedicated to advancing digital transformation in Ukraine, the Caucasus, and Central Asia. With over 17 years of experience in international development, Natalia has an extensive background in SME development, business internationalization, and technological assistance to foster a favorable business environment and improve access to finance. In her previous role, she managed the USAID Competitive Economy Program, valued at $170 million, demonstrating her capability in leading large-scale, impactful initiatives. You are in very good hands, Natalia. The floor is yours. Thank you for being here.
Great. Thank you so much, Anastasia, and it's a pleasure being here. And thank you for the introduction. Let me proceed to my presentation here. Nastya, I would ask to close. Yep, thank you, because it restricts me from opening my share. Sorry, just a second. Here we go. Now, let me put your minds at ease first. I won't be revealing any industry secrets today, nor I'm not going to deliver any earth-shattering insights that will revolutionize your business strategy overnight. What I will be doing is something much more grounded, but hopefully just as valuable, giving you a high-level overview of those markets that will help you literally pinpoint those countries on the map, understand how they are distinctly different from each other, and identify where your particular points of interest might lie. So let's take a look. We have a couple of objectives today. We'll go with the boring economic indicators, with ones that you cannot move on until you know what's the operational environment. When we look at the map, there are a number of catchy numbers here that will help to understand what the four economies are. Together, they represent a combined GDP of 70, and I apologize here, I haven't corrected that. It's 733 billion. This strategic location of these countries make them well-positioned to conduct operations with both Europe and Asia. They have competitive tax environments, and growing tech sectors make them key players in the region. Understanding their collective strengths will provide a solid foundation before we dive into the unique attributes of each of this. Now let's start our journey with Bulgaria, a country that offers unique opportunities, particularly in the IT and BPO. As we explore Bulgaria's strengths, we'll see how its low corporate tax and emerging fintech sector set it apart. Bulgaria, with a population of just 6.9 million, is known for its low corporate tax. It is only 10%, making it a favorable destination for businesses. The country excels in IT and business processing outsourcing, which contributes to about 5 to 6% to GDP. However, Bulgaria's tech infrastructure with 69% internet penetration lags behind Romania and Hungary, for example. What are those opportunities you might consider? Bulgaria is emerging as a fintech hub, particularly in Sofia, and has growing sectors in green energy and tourism. However, when compared to Romania and Hungary, Bulgaria still has room to grow in terms of attracting venture and scaling its tech ecosystem. Moving north, we come. Oh, sorry, this is one interesting thing. We'll try to highlight the good things as well. And one story that I would like to bring up is a Payhawk. It's a fintech startup. It's a country's first and only, and they became prominent just last year. They secured 1 million of funding. So let's move north. we come to Romania, a country that has rapidly developed into a powerhouse in the tech industry. Its story is particularly compelling when we consider its booming venture capital scene and how it contrasts with the opportunities and challenges we just discussed in Bulgaria. Romania stands out with its population of 19.2 million people and is a rapidly growing GDP driven by strong IT and software development sector. That contributes to about 6 to 7% of the economy's GDP. Romania attracted a remarkable 450 million in venture capital in 2023, which is the highest among the 4 countries that we're gonna cover today. And it boasts one of the fastest internet speeds globally, with 87% of internet penetration. Please consider the following opportunities. Romania is a leader in fintech, AI, and cybersecurity, benefiting from a large tech workforce, and which is 150,000 people, but is only half of what, for Ukraine, for example, Ukraine has. One example that I would bring for Romania is the UiPath. It was founded in 2005 and was growing. It became Romania's first unicorn and is one of 2. Its valuation was over 35 billion, and the investment in 2023, the next round secured, was about 1 billion. As we move westward to Hungary, we find a country that, while smaller in population than Romania, leverages its competitive tax environment and strong industrial base to attract significant foreign direct investment. Hungary's approach contrasts with Romania's. Hungary's approach contrasts with Romania's tech-driven growth, offering different model of economic success in the region. Its population is only 9.6 million. It offers actually the lowest corporate tax in Europe. It's only 9%. And this allows the country to attract significant foreign direct investment. The automotive industry is a cornerstone of its economy, contributing 10% of GDP and nearly 30% of exports. What are the opportunities to consider in the country? Hungary's strong focus on smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0 positions it ahead of Bulgaria and Romania in industrial digitalization. However, its tech sector, though competitive, doesn't match the scale of Romania's or the innovative edge seen in the Czech Republic's cybersecurity sector. And one example that I will bring, which is quite notable, it's AI Motive. It's pioneering Hungary's AI revolution. It was founded in 2015 and is a leader in autonomous driving technology, which achieved unicorn status through significant global investments. And now let's finally move to Czech Republic. We're gonna finish with this one. I know Anastasia is signaling that that's the time. The Czech Republic combines the industrial strengths of Hungary with a robust and growing ICT sector. Its population is 10.7 million, and manufacturing contributes 30% of GDP. It is home for such a venture as Škoda, and other global automotive brands are also based here. The opportunity you might consider is tech sector. It's pretty robust, especially the cybersecurity. And one example that I will bring for this country is Avast. It's the cybersecurity giant. It was founded in Prague. Now it's global. It was acquired in 2021 for $8 $5.1 billion, which is quite remarkable. In summary, these 4 countries have their distinct advantages and opportunities. Remarkably, the countries are home to several unicorns. It's 1 to 2 in each of these countries. The countries offer also additional funding through EU and as well other government incentives for their businesses. And this will help us transition onto our participants. Let me stop presenting in here.
And can we have a slide for our first panelist? Natalia, thank you so much for presenting an overview. I know it's very short time, but I'm really grateful.
Thank you, Anastasia. So I have my remarkable speakers today who would be the better voices for their countries and would definitely give you a perspective of the markets. And we'll start with the startup ecosystem overview of Hungary, and we'll pass it on to Joseph and Csongor. I don't know how you're gonna split between you two, but the floor is yours. Please.
Thank you so much, Natalia, and welcome everybody. I think József, you can kick it off with like a general intro about the Hungarian business scene, and then I can share a few more details and a deep dive into some of the details about the startup scene, if that works.
All right, let's do that. Hi, everyone. Let me share my screen.
Joseph, before you start, I'm sorry, I'll interrupt you here just for a brief remark. If you have your questions, we'll have the Q&A block after everyone completes their speeches. Please put them in the chat and we'll get back to them at the end. Thank you.
So thanks for having us here. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Joseph, just a quick thing. We can see 2 of your screens. I'm not sure if that is what you're expecting us to see.
Now everybody knows that you use the ChatGPT for
It's not a shame. We're all using that, but just
like that.
Wanted to point that. Thanks.
Like that. All right. So thanks. So thanks for having us here. I will be the one talking about the boring numbers about the economy, and Csongor will be the one who will talk about the startup ecosystem. So I'm trying to be really brief here. So what should we know about Hungary? It's located in Central Europe, and the capital city is Budapest, and we are EU members since 2004. Our currency is still Hungarian forint, and we are not in the Eurozone, and in the near future, it's not planned to be. Let's see the key figures. Natalia before me mentioned many of them, but let's take a look at them. For the population, it comes at 9.6 million. It ranks the 7th in Central Europe. Oh, by the way, for the context, I put for all the numbers a ranking, but you can see with the purple numbers. The GDP is $205 million. The GDP per capita is $21.3 thousand. And let's see the 3 other key metrics. The unemployment rate is one of the lowest in Europe. Actually, we are the 3rd. With that one, the inflation rate is almost one of the highest, but we are still working on it. It's 15%. The foreign direct investment is $6.9 billion. The development of the Hungary, as you can see, started to lower, but it's a global trend. It used to be 4.6% on average, where we were the 4th in Central Europe. For the digital economy, that was contributing 7% to the GDP. It was the 3rd biggest one. So as Natalia mentioned, we are strong for the digital and digitalization in Hungary. For the R&D, we are spending more than 1% of our GDP, which takes us to the 5th place in Europe. So let's see the industries. The automotive, as Natalia mentioned, it it makes the 30% of the manufacturing output for Hungary, and which makes us to the third largest automotive producer in the CE. For pharmaceuticals, 6% of the GDP. For IT and technology, Budapest, the capital city, started to be a role player in Hungary, mostly in Central Europe, but Csongor will highlight that one. And the tourism, many of you, I think, have already been in Budapest. It's a very famous place to go with over 30 million visitors annually, and it makes us the fourth visited country in the CE. Let's see the market opportunities. The digital innovation is definitely one of them. The renewable energy, we have 10 to 2030 that we should be almost net zero for CO. So right now we are ranking at 8th in the EU. We are strong in agri-tech and logistics and transportation because we are in the middle of Central Eastern Europe. So there are many logistic companies going through our country. So that was my part. Thank you for your attention. If you would like to connect me, please do that on LinkedIn through this QR code. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. And yeah, just a little bit about the startup scene. I didn't prepare slides. I hope that's okay. I think to summarize the Hungarian startup scene, it's not bad, but it could be better. That would be my tagline. I think the start of the startup ecosystem dates back around 15, 20 years ago when the first generation of Hungarian startups started off. The three most recognizable out of those would be Prezi, Ustream, and Logmin. They really started to spread kind of the entrepreneurial virus in Hungary. And I think pretty much in the region, because these companies were fairly unique in Central Eastern Europe to have this, what I like to call cross-Atlantic method of building, which meant that they fairly early opened actually headquarters in San Francisco and Boston and moved all the commercial functions of the company to the US while keeping product development and R&D here. And that model was kind of pioneered by them. Back then, 15 years ago, I think that was not common that companies from these region can raise from top tier US investors such as Excel or others who back these companies. And compared to that, I think we were a little bit ahead in the development of the startup ecosystem in a regional comparison, because by today it's not common anymore, as we could see from the short introductions from the various markets. All the neighboring countries have produced more unicorns, whereas Hungary actually back in 2005 in the region there were only 6 unicorns, out of which one was actually Logmin, which was started in Hungary. But since then, there are more than 40 unicorns around the region, and Hungary didn't really produce anymore. So, yeah, the first generation of success stories were these companies. There were a little bit smaller exits as well, mostly acqui-hires. And that kind of raised up the second generation of startups, and a few of those have already exceeded the success of the first gen companies. The most well-known companies would be Sion, which is currently the highest valued Hungarian startup. The last valuation was around 500 million. 2 years ago, they raised 94 million from IVP. Before that, Creandum was backing their Series A. Creandum, which is a well-known top-tier European investor, actually did quite a lot of investments in Hungary. They didn't just back Sion. They also backed Shaper 3D, which is another prominent member of the second-gen startups, as well as CraftDocs. And the founder of CraftDocs is actually a second-time founder. His previous startup was acquired by Skyscanner. So we already can see this kind of small signs of the flywheel effect. We are a big believer that good startup will produce more good startups. And we have these new, I would say the third generation of startups are just starting now, and we see more and more operators from these previous companies joining these companies as founders, employees, or exited founders becoming angel investors, giving back to the ecosystem. And we at Startup Hungary are supposed to accelerate that process. Not sure how I'm doing with time. I could talk a lot about this, but I also want to bring back you guys some time. Yeah, I can also maybe just pop up a few other names. So from the second generation, the definitely mentionable companies Sion, Bitrise, they also raised from Insight Partners and other top tier investors. Colossian is probably currently our fastest growing startup. They just raised in the beginning of the year a $22 million Series A, which was actually the largest Series A raised in Hungary. They are a Gen AI startup, so very hot market, obviously. And yeah, traditionally, I would say we are better off producing these B2B SaaS companies, but also the deep tech segment is pretty impressive. AI Motive was already mentioned. That was actually one of the largest acquisitions in Hungary. 2 years ago, they were acquired. The rumor that was the acquisition was around 300 million, and we have other deep tech companies such as Turbine AI in biotech and Comsignia, which is also in the autonomous driving space. Could talk you a lot more, but I think we are not
No,
doing
you can't.
that.
I'm sorry. This is the time we'll interrupt you. We have Anastasia who comes up on our screens, and that's a signal to all of us.
Thank
Cenger,
you.
thank you so much. I think we will be able to discuss more during the Q&A session, because I definitely have a couple of questions for you as well.
Wonderful.
And now we will move on. And we have our next speakers. The overview will be given of Romania will be given by Adina and Mircea. So I'll pass the floor to you.
Hi, thank you for the invitation. Just 1 second to share my screen. It says that you cannot start sharing.
Try once again. Now, when the slide is off, you'll be able to do that.
Yes. This one. So, can you see the screen now?
Yes, it's great.
Okay, perfect. So I'm here with Mircea, who is the board member of Raw Startup Association and managing partner at Activize. And I'm going to I'm going to present you what Raw Startup does, and Mircea is going to do the overview on the ecosystem. So Raw Startup Ecosystem Association is an independent organization.
Adina, I think we cannot hear you anymore.
Yeah, we lost the sound. Oops.
She dropped from the call.
I think you're here put on a spot to fill in when she comes back. So,
But she's here, so she's saving me. Otherwise, I would have to improvise, and instead of 10 minutes, we would have gone like 30 minutes.
No, sorry, I got disconnected. I have to do share screen again, yes?
Yes, please.
So, where was I when I got interrupted? So Raw Startup acts as an umbrella for the ecosystem, and through our activities, we support and enhance the capabilities of startup enablers. And here I'm referring to incubators, accelerators, venture capitalists, business angel networks, and other key players in the ecosystem. The organization was built upon Raw Startup Initiative that started 4 years ago with the support of European Commission, World Bank, and other and government authorities in Romania. And since the beginning, we managed to bring together key players in the ecosystem, public and private, and we formed the community in order to build a strategy that would accelerate the development of the national startup scene. In this year, we had several discovery workshops like this one, public consultations, more than 100 interviews with ecosystem actors in order to identify their needs and to see what we can do to overcome the challenges that the ecosystem faces. We launched 2 reports, Starting Up Romania and Scaling Up Romania, and actually these are the first 2 reports that present an overview of the entrepreneurial scene in Romania. They are very interesting, and I recommend you to read it. You can find it on our website. And after several rounds of discussions with DG Regio and government authorities, in 2023, we managed to secure a 20 million budget for the Romanian Startup Ecosystem Association, for the Raw Startup Ecosystem Association. And the budget will be used to build the capabilities of the startup enablers in Romania. What I would like to mention is that our approach is a unique approach, and I'm speaking this also at globally level, because there is no umbrella organization in other ecosystems that is implementing programs only to build the capacity of the enablers. So we are going to reach startups via the support organization. Moving to the next slide, here are the founding members of the first founding members of the association, 15 of the most relevant organizations in the ecosystem, and these were the ones that were most involved in the Raw Startup initiatives. And also here you have our supporters. Just one second. These are the core activities that we are going to implement. We have a strategy that we envisage we are going to implement in the next 4 or 5 years. So with the risk of repeating myself, our focus will be only on the enablers. And I leave the floor now to Mircea.
Yeah, so Anastasia, how many minutes do I have? Give me 3.
I would say that the floor is yours. 3-5 minutes.
Okay, awesome. Yes, so this is about Romania. We've been through some numbers before, so I just want to go quickly to the next slide.
The juiciest, I would say.
Many of them. We have this around 3,000 startup initiatives that we mapped directly since 2015. Of course, startups die, so definitely we have less, but there was quite some diversity, and these are the main verticals. As often happens in Eastern Europe, B2B SaaS is leading, but the other verticals are as well present. Going to the next slide. We have 4 unicorns. UiPath was mentioned. We also have Emag, Multiverse, and Bitdefender, who are somewhere around this level, but not necessarily raising venture capital or already owned by a private equity fund. We have the funding landscape, which is growing indeed, with 30 private venture initiatives, angel networks, angel funds, or venture funds. And we have a couple of successes with FintechOS, Druid, and FlowX AI, which we still consider kind of Romanian startups. UiPath already is big enough and moved to New York with their headquarters. This is the scene. We had a good 2021 year, but then things started dropping bit by bit, but we're hopeful for 2026, actually. I think 2024 will still be a tight year in terms of venture capital. And then moving on the next slide, these are the investors that I mentioned earlier, focused on the pre-seed and some of them seed area. If you drop me a line later and you're interested, I can tell you more about this. It's quite diverse. Many collaborate with each other for doing co-investments together. And we have many other ecosystem players, as you can see here. incubators, accelerators, media for startups, corporate support a little bit, and this is in the range of close to 100, something like that. These are the most frequent met in the ecosystem here. And we have a couple of challenges to close my presentation. The funding gaps in terms of pre-seed up to 1 million euro is quite big. Usually when it's about growth capital, the startups go outside in Europe. We have some challenges in regulatory, some definitions that need to be changed in the law, some laws that are related to investment need to be approached as well. So this is the role of one of the roles in Raw Startup, to be focusing on the regulatory environment and also communication with the ecosystem players and promoting the ecosystem internationally. We had a brain drain, but now it's stabilizing. A lot of good people, engineers moved to outside Romania and Europe, but now we see a balance in this. And of course, the cultural and entrepreneurial mindset can be improved. We still have risk aversion. But happily, as Csongor said about Hungary, things can be better, but we're still in a good place compared with the years behind us. So this is it. Thank you very much. Shortly, but definitely we can collect later for any other information.
Thank you, Dinas. Thank you, Mircea. Let's move on. And now we have a little change in here. It's not only about ecosystems, it's about the players themselves. So we have an opportunity to now talk to Ana Maria. She's the CEO and co-founder of Syndical. And this will be a different round. Ana Maria, let's start with a short introduction of who you are and what is your startup.
Hello, everyone. So I am Ana Maria Mungur. Thank you for inviting me. I am the co-founder and CEO of Syndical. And if there is to talk a bit about myself and my partners, we are very driven by a shared passion for using technology to tackle complex challenges. So today I want to share with you, and I'm excited to introduce you to Syndical and our flagship app, Volt. So what is Syndical? It's a platform dedicated to revolutionizing healthcare by streamlining the management of medical data. Our product, Volt, set to launch on the market in the next few weeks, is a cutting-edge app that centralizes all this medical information, making it accessible, storable, and shareable with ease. Whether it's connecting with clinics or sharing data with doctors, Volt is going to ensure that the user have complete control over their health records while enabling healthcare providers to offer more informed care. So it's about, it is that what sets us apart, it's about that it's not just a data storage solution, it's an entire ecosystem which we are building around the needs of both users and healthcare providers. So our platform integrates seamlessly with medical entities, ensuring smooth communication and collaboration. And what truly sets us apart is our AI-powered system that analyzes medical data to provide personalized health recommendation, and through that, helping users make informed decisions about their care. It's about prevention more than anything. So why we chose Romania is because as our launch pad, because we receive these questions all the time, is because it offers now a more structured and budget-friendly environment, and it's making it an ideal location for us for developing innovative solutions. The regulatory framework here supports, we believe, supports rapid development, and it's allowing us to bring Volt to market efficiently. And also, we believe that the need for better data interpretation and management is universal, so patient, provider, and businesses all require it. And Syndical is positioned to be the bridge that connects these needs, so driving the future of healthcare forward.
Thank you. And now let's have some fun and go through a round of questions.
Okay.
We had a chance to talk before, and now I know that you are operating in Romania, so the question of other markets isn't relevant to you. But still, what are the biggest challenges for you operating in the country? How do you overcome them?
Our biggest challenges were, first of all, to introduce ourselves to the medical providers, to the clinics, the big clinics, and explain them that we are there to communicate and to make partnership with them. Also, what we believe that is a challenge, but also an opportunity, is the data supported by the government, because we believe that we can be a bridge between the private and the state, and also between the users, the patients, and the states and the clinics. We are positioning ourselves as not only as a bridge, but also as an intermediate third person party. Yeah, so we can put our hands together to make to innovate the healthcare ecosystem here in Romania, because we believe that research and innovation is required, and in Romania there is a market ready for it.
Thank you.
I don't know if I answer your question.
Yeah, you did. There is no wrong or right. It's just you sharing your own experience. We've heard that talent retention is an issue, not necessarily for Romania only, but have you faced issues motivating people to stay? Because very often they consider better opportunities westward. Is it a case with you or not?
Right now, it's not the case because we have partners. But what was amazing for us from the start is the people and the partners that came together to work with us. Our board members, for example, they believed in us. Our people with which we developed until now our platform, they work with us because they believe in this bigger purpose that we are driven by. So we believe that also in the future with the employees, it's going to be about the values, and also driven by the bigger purpose, and this is going to be the right path for us to take in. So it's not, I don't believe that with the retention here in Romania, it's really a problem, because we go to the companies with our solution for B2B to help the companies by our platform and app to help them with the employees and their prevention and their healthcare, and prevention their healthcare. But so it's going to be, we are going to be a solution for them to help them with the retention of their employers.
Thank you. One last question that I have for you is, could you share some tips and tricks that you have developed that help you successfully navigate the market, and what advice can you give to Ukrainian startups looking to enter the market?
Right partnerships and a great amount of feedback taken from everyone. So this helped us grow, and this helped us take the right path every time. And also what we advise every colleague or startup we encounter is to take a leap and have around them, even if advisors and counselors, because it's not about everything when you are going to build a startup. It's about how you tackle the market and how you tackle for real the problems the customer have. So you need feedback for that, and you have to take feedback from everyone. So this is going to help you pivot when you're stuck.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Time has run out. It was a pleasure having you with us today, and let's move on. Now we are going to talk about the startup ecosystem of Bulgaria, and Svetoslav, the floor is yours.
I just received a message that I cannot start screen share while
Start once again. This slide will go off and you'll be able to do so.
Can you see the screen now?
Yes, great.
Okay, perfect. So just a second. Thank you. So I'm more than happy to meet you all, and I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation. Some facts about the country. It's a relatively small country with about 6.5 million population. In terms of economy, the biggest sector is the services sector, which is responsible for 67% of the GDP. And the services sector became leading sector in the last 15 years after we entered the European Union, mostly for the reason that software development and IT services became a huge part of the economy. And this, by the way, relates with the startup ecosystem as well. On a macro level, as Natalia mentioned, we have a very low corporate tax. The debt to GDP ratio, I think it's the lowest in the European Union, which is very good for the economy. And I think that low taxes are a very strategic fundamental because many big companies, they started opening huge R&D centers in the country after we entered the European Union. You'll see that in the next slide. So actually, prior to Bulgaria becoming a parliamentary republic, we were a planned economy. We were part of the Soviet Union. So by this time, the innovation was supported only on a government level. Then when we became parliamentary republic, the innovation was supported mostly by foreign investments and some local businesses. This marked the point of the startup ecosystems being developed. And after we entered the European Union, a lot of things changed. A lot of big international technology companies started to open R&D offices here for several reasons. First of all, because a high number of well-prepared engineers coming from the technical universities in the country in fields such as software development, electronics, hardware, and so on. And the second reason is because of the low corporate tax. So big multinationals, they started to open offices and centers in early 2000, starting from Microsoft, then HP, and many big corporations like VMware and SAP Labs, tens of thousands of software engineers and staff. And on the back of this slide, you can see the GDP per capita. You can see how much it grows after 2005. For the startup ecosystem, Bulgaria ranks 37th as per the global ranking index. It has more than 40 universities. 40% of all students are in the STEM industries, which is good, and this supports the ecosystem as well. We have more than 20 VC funds operating right now, and the average investment per startup is 1.1 million euro. Funding opportunities for startups, several different opportunities. First of all, the VC funding, as I mentioned, there are more than 20 VC funds. Most of them are financed under on European projects. So in fact, they provide investments with European money, and only part of the whole VC fund is with private capital. So in the average investment per year in the startup ecosystem is 2,000 million euro. And there is a new wave of VCs coming in Bulgaria. Another type of funding that you can take part of if you are a startup. This is the European funding, but I will not spend time on this because this is the same for all countries in the EU. We have national funding as well. I don't know how it is in the Czech Republic and Romania and Hungary, but here in Bulgaria, we have a special market that is committed to startups, where you can list your startup in a very easy way. And the reporting is much easier compared to listing your startup on a real stock exchange. So between 2 and 5 startups per year are listed on this exchange, and they raise between 1 and 5 million euro. So if you are a startup, you can take part of, you can use all these types of fundings. We have 2 unicorns, in fact, not 1. And we have a good pipeline of new upcoming unicorns. Dronamics, they develop unmanned cargo drones. And Eurosat, they develop satellite technology, and they send microsatellites to the space. And GTM Hub, they develop strategy planning and execution software. By the way, it's super easy right now to finance your idea. The trending verticals, I think they're the same all around, but fintech is the biggest one. Enterprise software as a service, energy, mobility, and health technology. Some numbers here. The startup ecosystem accounts for 2.8% of the GDP growth of the country. And if you are a startup, you can use a lot of infrastructure. For example, we have 2 technology parks, Sofia Tech Park and Gabrovo Tech Park. There is an equipment that is very expensive, such as supercomputers and expensive laboratories where you can use this equipment free of charge. There are some accelerators that can help you to accelerate your idea. And we also have 12 digital innovation hubs. You can rely on these hubs to help you to find investment and to bring your idea into reality. So the challenges that the Bulgarian ecosystem faces, this is, first of all, lack of quality startups. What I can tell you is that last year, there were more financing than there were startups on the market. So lack of quality startups is the first challenge. And the second challenge is lack of follow-on funding. Many of the VC companies, they provide support during your early stage development. But if you, for example, would like to raise 10 million or 20 million euro or 50 million, there is no such venture capital company here, and you need to look for investments abroad. The third challenge is the size of the market, because Bulgaria's market is very, very low. Most of the times, startup, they should validate ideas directly on the international stage, just because there is no market here to be validated. And another challenge is the lack of internationalization talent. Most of the startups, they're very strong in the tech field, in the technology, but we lack business development managers and expertise on scaling up the project internationally. So yeah, this was in short for the startup ecosystem in Bulgaria. If there are any questions,
we'll save them until the end.
Until the end, yeah.
Thank you so much, Svetoslav. Now let's go on to the next speaker, please.
And it's probably me, right?
I think so, Dushan, but we'll see. Svetoslav, you need to stop presenting so that we can bring up the slides or anything that the other speaker will need to do.
Okay, I'm not presenting anymore. Yeah.
Oh, we still see your screen.
Dear Abby, maybe you can assist us here. Can you do the intro slide?
Oh, sorry.
It's fine.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Dushan. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Привіт всім. Мої вітання з Чехії. я дуже радий, що я міг приєднатися до цієї події. І сподіваюся, що вам щось корисного розповім. Я перейду на англійську мову і поставим свої слайди зараз. Добре?
Abby will now stop sharing. Yep, you'll be able to do that.
Okay, so I share it now, right?
Yeah, try again, Tushin.
Share. I need to...
Yeah, you need to do the full screen mode and you are all good. We can see your screen.
Okay. Oh, seems it works, right? Okay, let me introduce my homeland, the Czech Republic. Let's start from this view. If you met some Czech, they often refer to their country as the heart of Europe, and you can see why we are using this, although we understand there are some other locations around Central Europe that can legitimately claim the same. However, this central position in Europe kind of predetermined many aspects of our lives, including our economic relations and economic aspirations. If I put closer look, Czech Republic is surrounded by mountains, and this is probably why we are still here, because we moved here sometimes at the end of 6th or 7th century. We are a rather small country, and if you look at the geography, there are no extremes.
Yeah, Dusan, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Your slides are not moving; they're frozen. So
they're frozen.
Yeah, we can see just the first slide with the PowerPoint. Yes, now it's not frozen.
Maybe I need to.
It's fine like that. Just move them. Okay.
Okay, let me do this.
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, thanks.
So the geography and no really high mountains or huge rivers kind of translated into Czech mentality. We don't really like any extremes. The Czech state goes back to end of 9th century. As you see, it's relatively small. It's eight times smaller than Ukraine. And from the point of view of participation in international organizations, we are members of many of them, but two of them are most important. It's NATO and since 1999 and the European Union since 2004. I keep saying for 20 years that NATO membership is more important for our homeland, even from economic point of view, and I guess you are the first audience that understands my message. Let's go further on. This map shows the population density and intensity of traffic and the major concentration of population. So we have three cities we call large. It's Prague with 1.4 million, Brno with 400,000, and Ostrava with less than 300. And then we have secondary centers of population around 100,000. So in fact, most of relevant startup activity is happening in Prague, Brno, and Ostrava. There are a lot of initiatives outside in those smaller centers, secondary centers, but from the point of view of impact and presence of infrastructure related to startup world, they are significantly less important. Our total population is almost 10.7 million. We have a little bit aging population, and the pool of labor is reducing. About 17% of the population has a university level population and education, and we have the student population of roughly 300,000. This is nice. What is not so nice is that we have less and less people with technical education, and young people are scared of mathematics. This is a kind of warning finger, and maybe the Czech IT and tech will have a hard time finding good people. We have roughly 500,000 Ukrainians living in the Czech Republic. Our economy, the total GDP is attacking 300 billion euros in 2023. And in terms of GDP per capita, I put this little table in the left corner. So we have almost 35,000 at purchasing power parity. So if I state the number in current prices, it would be lower, but it gives a comparison with all neighbors. It's Austria, Germany, us, Poland, Hungary. We don't have direct border with Hungary, but consider Hungary a kind of neighbor, and indeed Slovakia. The GDP growth is rather weak in past several years, and the outlook is not any better for future years. So let's see what will be happening. We suffered rather bad inflation last year, some 15% annual inflation. This year, the inflation finally got under control, and unemployment rate is traditionally very low. It's even a problem because practically unemployed are mostly those who are not really interested in having a job. If we look at the structure of our GDP, you can see that agriculture plays rather marginal role with 2.3%. Industry is rather dominant. Traditionally, Czech industry used to be strong. It's slowly diminishing in the past 30 years, but still is very strong. And a lot of work for digital solution and for startups comes from the industry, especially from automotive, processing industry, and precise engineering. So this is big challenge. The service sector exceeds 60%, but we need to take into account that a significant share of the service sector is government and public services. What is important and interesting to us is that there is a growing segment of business services or business process outsourcing. And again, it's a great opportunity for innovative solutions and new players to come, and it is on the radar of many startups. Another important parameter is we are heavily export dependent, so we are rather internationalized, and without exporting successfully, we would be poor. So export performance of our economy is significant to all of us, and we are successfully maintaining surplus or positive balance of foreign trade for years, except 22, where this hike of energy prices affected the result. Also, Czech Republic used to be very successful in attracting FDI, foreign direct investment, especially typically greenfield manufacturing, efficiency-seeking investment. And you see this FDI stock, inverse stock is rather high, especially if we would calculate it per capita. Main export.
Sorry, before you go to the next slide, we need to move a little faster.
Okay.
Nice coming up. That's a signal.
Up. This startup movements started 22 years ago in southern Bohemia, creating the first kind of triple helix and South Moravian Innovation Center that worked systematically with companies that later started calling startups. They started from incubation, but later they expanded their portfolio of services up to having their own venture capital funds, which was co-funding with private. They also produced some cool startups. Kiwi is rather known, flight picker used working internationally. Here, several numbers of Czech startup ecosystems. We have around 700 startups. We have 50 different investment vehicles from angel investors through venture capital up to crowdfunding vehicles, platforms, and for initial stage of startups life, these work well. For larger investment, Czech startups need to reach out to abroad. We have rather developed infrastructure of various, I call it support facilities, but they have very different level and quality. The best and most capacities and the best capacities are in Prague, Brno, and Ostrava. Also numerous support programs from networking up to assistance with funding, and the total amount of publicly known funding reached almost 4 billion. And here are examples of some successful startups. We have 3 unicorns and some more to come probably. As for the ranking of the startup ecosystem, Czech Republic is number 32, and notably we have 4 cities in Global 1000, but only 3 of them are really interesting: Prague, Brno, and Ostrava. Here we have very good source of information. This one is unfortunately only in Czech, but I think you can handle it. So if you take this address, you can learn more, get more information, or get better orientation in Czech startup ecosystem. This is something we can skip, and it's time to thank you.
And this is the most important one, Dusan.
This one.
No, the one that says "Дякую." I know that.
Дякую, yeah. I mentioned one challenge, which is loss of attractivity of mathematics for Czechs. Another is a little bit reduced funding. The investors got colder in last year, but this is global trend as far as I know. And the third is low willingness of Czech startups, especially those youngest ones, to fund, to put their hands in their own pockets and ask relatives and ask friends for funding. This is a little bit problem. Great opportunities for the future is in digitalization of government services. Our government services are rather rigid, slow, and when they try to digitalize something, it ends up in a kind of bad joke. So there will be a huge market for the future, and also supplying solutions to processing industry and to engineering.
Great.
So now I say again, дякую. That was great pleasure.
Dusan, I appreciate very much your insights. I know you have a huge experience and this base that allows you to compare the countries between each other. And you have also Ukrainian experience that's kind of very valuable in this regard. Thank you. Can you stop presenting, please? And we'll move on.
Stop sharing.
Thank you. Now we are moving to Czech Republic, and this is a little of a change again for you to make sure you're not yet sleeping. So we have Pavel, and let's start with the short introduction and talk a little about your startup, please.
Hello, I'm Pavel Konečný. I'm CEO and founder of Neuro Somewhere. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, all good. We can both see and hear you well.
So Neuro Somewhere, it's developing an industrial technology. We are providing services and solutions for manufacturing, especially making machines smarter, because we combine artificial intelligence and IoT into a service when we can avoid machine breakdown, or we can improve the efficiency of manufacturing. So that's the area where we are specializing. And I put down some points which I think it's worth of sharing how it is operating from Czech Republic or establishing here, especially if you'll be coming from Ukraine. So first thing I will mention, it's language, because in Czech, when you say thank you, it's děkuji. And that's very close. I could even understand when I was watching YouTube videos, original in Ukraine, coming. We got a lot of people already living before the war and work in Ukraine. So it's very culturally close to Czech Republic. You don't require any much visa if you want to move. There's a special regime at the moment. So that's no trouble to start a business here. You also benefit with having your kind of team or easy access to one of the largest markets and one of the most innovative close by. Yeah, that's Germany. Yeah, so we are like surrounded by from the north. You have a couple hours by car. You can get in 3-4 hours in Berlin. You can get very fast to Munich from Prague. There are very good highways. So that's very simple. And of course, you have access to all Western countries because Prague has direct flights to any other major city within Europe. There are, also mentioned, already kind of like a ecosystem for startups. I don't think it's as advanced as in Berlin. Definitely, it cannot be compared to Silicon Valley. So you can benefit from a few, but with personal recommendations, you can get quick access, for example, to team from Startup Yard, which is one of the longest working international program for startups, which is really great network of mentors. So they will not just keep you sitting and give you a couple of presentations, but they will loop you in. You will have hundreds of presentations to different mentors, and they can connect you to any type of business in the region or in Czech Republic. So look into that. They will also help you incorporate if you don't exist as a corporation. That's very easy. The second thing I will highlight that we got a very efficient one institution, government institution, which is called Czech Invest. Originally, they were supporting a huge investment into large like factories. Currently, they also refocus on startups. And they have very nice program, equity free. If you apply, there are like 3 rounds a year. You can get up to 200,000 euros if you are like a technically focused startup for developing the technology. And it's for services. It's kind of for pushing the technology further. For legal advice, for kind of IP protections. Very nice, also well-established program. So that's one of the kind of rare benefits, I think, which was introduced here. There might be some also a couple of disadvantages. I will say that from number of events, yes, we have them. You can go every month somewhere, but if you will be in Silicon Valley and you only specialize on some particular area, let's say some cybersecurity, there will be some events like every week. Yeah. So it's not as strong network. It's, of course, Prague is just small city compared to any other locations. So it's a small community, and I would definitely recommend going to Prague. Or if you have industrial, maybe Brno could be also an option. But any other city, it's kind of a couple hours drive or half an hour from Prague. So don't bother with that. We have, as a Czechs, we are less innovative customers. Now, as in industries, many of the corporations operating or factories are actually German headquartered subsidiaries. So they are rather copying or installing what was proven in Germany. So there's less initiation. So hey, let's do something. On the other hand, if you are in B2C, Czech people are really kind of like a players toying with it, and that will kind of allow to prototype. And I remember they were one of the first countries really quickly adapting like a payless payments without credit cards and stuff like that. So Czech people are playing with toy, they love it, but the corporations and the state government is quite rigid. And the last thing I will mention that there is a really good technical talent. I will not be bothering much about some people worrying about mathematics. I think that's way above average across many countries, European countries or globally. What I see is that that's a quality which is recognized internationally. So large corporations, IBM, Microsoft, they have developer centers in Prague. Which is advantage and disadvantage. You can, hire experienced people, but you are also in fierce competition for the top talents. There are also international startups, Pipedrive and others opening their development centers in Czech Republic, and of course they are used to pay much more. So price for IT specialists, it's quite high compared to maybe other regions. So you can mix it with talents from Ukraine together with the local talents, definitely, and a good option. We have also a couple of developers who are working from abroad. So one of them is from Ukraine. So that will be like in a nutshell starting business in Czech Republic, and it will be any written questions I'm happy to answer, or give you these 5 minutes break because I guess at 5:30 there should be a new section starting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You did a great job with the overview, and I will have one question to you regarding your experience while you were developing your own startup. When scaling, have you noticed any particular market nuances that you had to address that were unique to Central or Eastern Europe? Would be there anything that you would specifically point to?
Yeah, so we benefit. They are like much open to innovate in Germany or Austria and other countries. Also, when we are not geographically specific, so we got customers who is the corporation is based in Germany, but we have installations in US or in Italy. It doesn't matter. So we move technical data. There's no GPRS applied for technical information. So if the customer rules applies, then we can deploy everywhere. So that's big benefit. I don't think there's any other struggle. Maybe just keep in mind that we don't have euro. We have Czech crowns. So there is we have all contracts in euro, and you need to kind of be ready that sometimes it change the rates and some kind of stuff like that. I will say that's maybe one of the disadvantages how we will remove soon, that we will also switch to euro.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will be wrapping up. It was an incredible experience having you all here. I would remind that we have the Q&A block. There are some questions that are answered here. Please review them, and we'll go to those that still haven't been tackled. So the first question will be to Svetoslav. From your experience, what are the specific cultural differences that we need to be aware of a startup while reaching to TA?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? The cultural differences?
Yes.
The startups are challenging, right?
That's right.
Well, I don't know. I mean, especially in Bulgaria, the young population, because they're quite familiar with how the business is done in Europe and in the market economies, just because they graduate Master of Business Administration and some other things. But in fact, if your team has people from the old years, it's quite challenging because just the mindset is different. I mean, the way of doing business is different. I think that for a startup to be successful on the international market, you should always over deliver. You should place the client on the first place and the quality of the service.
Thank you so much. We have one more question, Dusan. We know that Czech Republic startup ecosystem is very well developed. Are there any unique opportunities or programs open for Ukrainians in particular? Dusan, are you still with us? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm trying to click, and I finally managed to do that. There used to be special programs for Ukrainian entrepreneurs and startups back in 2022, and maybe until 23, but I'm not sure they are still in place. There was initiative of the South Moravian Innovation Center. I even contacted them with the Ukrainian Startup Fund, and there was some matchmaking event. I would need to check whether there is something new. But I believe the environment is rather open and easy to use for Ukrainians. So probably there is no need for special programs. Some regions even had kind of vouchers for Ukrainian refugees who wished to open their own business. But again, I think those programs are not in place anymore.
Thank you, Dusan. That's exhaustive enough. With that, we'll finish this session. I really appreciate the different voices here and the local perspectives. I think it's a huge value to hear from those who belong there. Thank you for your time. It's much appreciated you paying your time and sharing your experience with Ukrainian founders. Nastya, on to you. Thank you.
Yeah, Natalia, and just from us, from organizers, we really appreciate you moderating this and making it live and interactive. And for all the experts, thank you for supporting Ukraine and helping Ukrainian ecosystem expand to your local markets. And from now on, we will have also wanted to add that we had a lot of Q&A questions that were already answered from our experts. So if you want to see them, I'll send them I'll send the copy into the chat, so all of the participants will be able to see the answers to these questions. As for now, Natalia, thank you so much. As for now, we will have 5 minutes break, and we'll be back at 6:35 Ukrainian time, 5:35. We are 10 minutes delayed. However, 5 minutes, we're waiting for you, and we'll have a section on how to start a business and avoid failure. So just waiting for you. Hi, everyone. It's second section, 5 minutes of break are over, and we're ready to proceed. And Abby, if I may ask you to switch to the next slide. Over here, we'll have a section presented by Anna Kalinichenko, moderated by Anna Kalinichenko. And this section is dedicated to how to set up a business and avoid failure. And a few words about Anna Kalinichenko, except for her being a great supporter of Seeds of Bravery and our initiative. And thanks to her, we have a lot of DLA Piper experts here to cover section 2. Anna Klimchenko is a senior pro bono associate at DLA Piper. Anna is a Ukrainian qualified lawyer who is currently based in Warsaw and coordinates the Seeds of Bravery and other Ukraine-related pro bono projects at DLA Piper. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anastasia, for introduction. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us today. So let me share my screen. One moment. Okay. So it should be. Sorry, one moment. And I'm already sharing it. Yeah. Please let me know if you see it. As Anastasia mentioned, our session is devoted to legal aspects of incorporation of companies in 4 jurisdictions, namely Hungary, Romania, Czech Republic, and Bulgaria. During next hours, 1 hour, our 4 speakers will be discussing how to set up a business in their jurisdictions from a legal perspective. And before they start, let me say a couple of words about DLA Piper, who is associated partner of the Seeds of Bravery project. DLA Piper is a global law firm with more than 90 offices in over 40 countries across the globe. We have more than 1,000 lawyers who are ranked as leaders in their field of expertise. We advise clients in sectors that include technology, infrastructure, life science, financial services, and many more. Please check out our website for more details. And now, very shortly about housekeeping rules. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A function. We will have a Q&A session after presentations of all speakers. But please take into account that our Hungarian expert will need to leave earlier. So please put your questions to Hungarian lawyer during his presentation. We will ask him to address the question after his presentation directly. And now let me introduce our first speaker, who is Balázs Torok. Balázs is a corporate lawyer from DLA Piper, Hungary. Main areas of expertise of Balázs are corporate law, M&A, and capital markets. His work focuses on M&A transactions, restructurings, general corporate law issues, due diligence, and capital markets. Balázs, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Anna. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Super. Thank you much. I also welcome everyone. As Anna said, my name is Balázs Torok, and I will be talking about how to set up a Hungarian limited liability company, or a KFT. I must say there are many alternatives in Hungary, but generally more than 90% of companies are LLC or KFTs in Hungary, and that's why our main focus will be on the KFTs in this presentation. Basically, why LLCs are popular choice? Because this company form have the most simple corporate governance rules, and to be honest, this is the most easy way to establish a company in Hungary. The alternatives, just to name a few, are branch offices, where the company in a foreign country can directly open up a branch office. It's not a separate legal entity, and also there are private limited companies. The biggest advantage of a private limited company is that it can issue shares, and KFTs cannot issue shares. So the quota holding in these KFTs are represented in a members list. So it also can be transferred, but not the same process as for private limited company. And as a general remarks, there are many prior steps to be taken before opening up a Hungarian KFT. It's important to note that the whole procedure is fully electronic, and that's why a legal representative must be mandated before the whole process. And also a registered seat, the company must have a registered seat prior to the registration. So there must be a corporate service provider must be contacted. These are technical steps, and there are many corporate service providers who can also, provide this service for a small fee, but this must be taken prior to the registration. Hungarian KFT can be established with 3 million Hungarian forints, or the equivalent is around 8,000 euros. And there can be one or many or more shareholders, but the shareholders' contribution may not be less than 100,000, or its equivalent is to 260 euros. And the contribution can either be provided in cash or in-kind contribution. This is really, really important for startups. So they can, for example, put the in-kind contribution, for example, a software into the company, and they don't have to pay the cash. And the cash, to be honest, the cash can be paid at a later stage, so it don't have to be paid at the registration directly. As a limited liability company, the shareholder liability only extends to the initial contribution, but there are some examples when this liability is abused, and then the shareholder can be liable for some damages and for the obligations of the company. But this is a rare aspect, but also need to be taken aware of. It's also important to note that in Hungary there are no restrictions regarding the shareholders' nationality or residency, but this is also a prior step. A delivery agent mandate must be appointed. The delivery agent mandate is basically receives all official mails and forwarded to the shareholder. And this can be basically any natural person or legal person in Hungary, but of course with a Hungarian address. As I said, the KFTs have a really simple corporate governance rules. The most simple way to put it, that there are the shareholders and the management. Of course, a supervisory board also can be established at the company, but this is more usual for bigger companies where the supervising of the management is more important. But the other part of this corporate governance structure is the management. In Hungary, there must be at least one managing director who basically responsible for the day-to-day activities of the company and for the business activities. Also, a company manager can be appointed next to these managing directors, who under the managing director helps the day-to-day activities. The most popular way to set up a company is to have one shareholder. So this will be a one shareholder KFT, and then this shareholder can basically just issue written resolutions. The General Assembly don't have to be invoked. So that's why it's a fairly simple and the fast way to operate the company in a day-to-day manner. And the managing directors can actually be issued these notices that they must act according to the shareholders' resolution. And the managing directors must have an employment agreement or a mandate agreement in place. I think this is also a step which needs to be taken aware of prior to the registration. Company managers can only have employment agreement with the company, so this is also a restriction. But other than that, there are no restrictions for the managing directors or company managers or supervisory board members regarding their nationality or residency. But they should also have Hungarian delivery agent if they don't have a Hungarian resident address. Other than that, there are I think we can move to the steps on the next second slide. As I said, KFTs are really popular in Hungary because this is the most easy way to set up a company. As I said, some example for prior administrative tasks like the register seat, the legal representation. And for the legal representation, a lawyer must be mandated, and these lawyers are required by law to do this know your rights, know your customer processes. These processes can be fairly painful for some clients, but we have to check who the ultimate beneficial owner of a company is, and basically, other than that, the most important data of the company must be taken in a client ID sheet, and after that we can basically start with the corporate drafting of the documents. These draftings are fairly simple. There are around 10 documents for the incorporation, and it takes usually 1 or 2 days. Of course, when there are more shareholders, there can be more tricky resolutions in the deed of foundation of the company. But for general matters, it most of the time 1 day is enough to prepare the documentation. And after that, the other tricky part is the signing of the documents after everything is ready, because in Hungary, the formalities for the signing are really strict. If you are outside of Hungary, if you are inside of Hungary, basically most of the documents can either be signed in front of the attorney or in front of witnesses. But if you're outside of Hungary, then the documents must be signed in front of a notary, and it must have an apostille to the document. This can be painful for some clients, and for an alternative, we can offer that we can conduct these video counter signing processes. It's basically a video call on Microsoft Teams or Zoom, where the client or the shareholder or managing director can sign the document, and we can state that they're signed in front of our presence. It's also important to note that the Hungarian company register maintain a large amount of public personal information. This can be also painful for some clients, for most of the times in the United States, because in the company register, the name, the mother's name, the date of birth, the tax ID number, and is stated. And there are some clients who are not in favor of this method. This is a great way to check your customers, but also there are some disadvantages because most of the information will be publicly available and freely available. But back to the whole process. After all the documents have been received and countersigned and ready to be submitted to the company registry court, then the lawyers prepare this folder and send it to the Hungarian company registry. This is an electronic way, so there are no paper ways to say, but all the lawyers must have 1 copy of each document. So this is also a regulatory step for lawyers. The registration is fairly simple. There are some examples when the court can have demands which are not really in accordance with the law. Most of the times a company registration takes around 5 days. The mandatory deadline is around 15 days. And to talk about the cost of the company incorporation, there are no direct fees or duties, so it's completely free. But as I said, there are many prior steps to be taken. For example, the mandating of the lawyer that can have fees, and also the translation of some extracts of the shareholder, the founder company, and also the accountant. As I said, the incorporation is not the hard part in the story, but after everything is ready and the company is incorporated, there are some post-incorporation administrative tasks. This can be a bit daunting, and that's why we generally recommend to have at least 1 managing director who's resident in Hungary or have day-to-day contact in Hungary, because a bank account must be opened in Hungary, and also there are some contracts which can be easily signed in Hungary, and also some registration procedures with the tax authority and other authorities, which are generally the easiest if there is a managing director in Hungary. And many clients face great issues, for example, with banks, because banks are generally stricter than lawyers, of course, and that's why most of the time they demand that someone in person comes to the bank office and open the bank account. And to wrap it up, I generally say that this process is easy in Hungary, because the initial capital should not be paid, but may not be paid at the registration of the company, and the managing structure can be easily built up. There aren't any strict rules regarding that. And I want to thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to ask them.
Thank you very much, Balázs, for your interesting and insightful presentation. I'm just checking if you have any questions to you. So I see there is one question. Thank you for your detailed presentation. Would you advise connecting with legal representative for consultation at the very beginning to go through the procedure of registration?
Yes, this is 100% recommended, because legal representative is a mandatory step for the registration. So the best way is to have a lawyer from day one, from day zero, to be honest, and then all the administrative parts can be taken care of. And that's why I generally recommend to consult a lawyer and to see which is the best way to open up the company.
Great, thank you very much, Balázs. I do not see any more questions. And we are moving forward to Romanian part, and let me introduce our second speaker, Andrei Dragan. Andrei is an associate in the corporate group of DLA Piper office in Bucharest. His legal expertise covers a variety of corporate matters, from drafting and reviewing corporate documents for general corporate housekeeping of local and international clients to handling the due diligence stage in a number of local and cross-border transactions. So I'm handing over to you, Andrei.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone has had a very nice day up until now. My presentation is going to be split into parts. First off, I'm going to be talking about some general aspects that one might need to know prior to incorporating a company in Romania, and also the steps for incorporating said company in Romania. And in the second part, the second part comes as a reply to a number of clients, because we always received a question of whether to start a subsidiary in the form of a limited liability company or a branch. And I just try to draw up a more short comparison between the two of them. Just like in Hungary, the limited liability company in Romania is the preferred manner of setting up a legal entity or your presence in Romania. And prior to getting into the incorporation process, one might want to know a couple of key aspects. So first off, you will need a corporate name. This corporate, for that, we usually ask our clients to come up with 3 options, and we check the availability of said options. If one or isn't available, we'll go with a second, and if both aren't available, we'd go with a third. It's also very important to mention that you cannot include words like national, Romanian, institution, authority in the name that you have chosen for your entity, because it could draw confusion with public and state authorities in Romania. Now, moving on to the shareholders. The shareholders can be either natural persons or legal entity, and foreign citizens or Romanian citizens. So there's no restrictions in this regard. What I would like to mention in that is that in case of foreign citizens, they would have to file a statement saying that they are not fiscally registered in Romania and that they do not have any tax liabilities in Romania. And this is due to the fact that for foreign citizens that are fiscally registered in Romania and for Romanian citizens, the trade registry will check with the relevant tax authorities directly if you have a fiscal record. Whereas in the case of foreign nationals that are not fiscally registered in Romania, this would not be possible. And this is also applicable in case of directors. So a Romanian limited liability company must at all times have at least one director. You can have a number of them, but at any times you must have one director. The director must be appointed for a determined period of time. So you cannot appoint a director for an unlimited, undetermined term of office. It can either be, 1 month to 99 years, as long as it's determined. And what's very important to mention is that you have to specify the manner in which he will perform his duties. If you have one director, it's very easy. It's going to be an individual representation and decision-making power. However, if you have several, if you don't specify anything, it will be presumed under law that each of them can fulfill the director duties, but you can also come up with other corporate governance rules. Moving on, you would also need a registered office. In this, for this, we could get you in. We can get people in touch with HQ providers. There are a number of HQ providers here in Romania, and this is very good if this can be settled prior to getting into the drafting of the incorporation document, because the process could take a bit longer depending on the HQ provider and whether there are any negotiations regarding the contract, so on and so forth. There are no share capital. There's no minimum share capital requirement in Romania. So the share capital can be as low as €1, which is roughly 20 cents. And back in the day, it used to be 200 RON, which is 40 euros. And I think a lot of new companies on the market tend to go for that option for the 200 RON one. In terms of paying it up, you would have to pay 30% of it in 3 months, in the first 3 months after you have registered your company. The company is up and running, but prior to starting any operation. So you cannot conduct any business prior to having this 30% paid up. The rest, 70%, can be paid in 12 months for cash contributions or 2 years for in-kind contributions. So both types of contributions are acceptable to the share capital of Romanian limited liability company. In terms of activities that the company can carry out, this is entirely up to its shareholders. What they would need to do is to consult the list shared by Eurostat and try to determine the best activities for their companies. And they should also bear in mind the fact that each and every activity that they choose, for each of them, they must file a statement saying that they authorized those activities to be performed. So this is something new that came up end of 2022. Now, another important part is to know how to identify the UBO. So without getting into too much details on this, there are basically 2 main rules to follow under Romanian law. So first off, if you have someone in the company or up the chain of shareholdings that holds more than 25% or controls the company by any other means, you can presume that that person is the UBO. And if you fail to identify such an individual, then the directors of the Romanian entity will be the UBOs. As far as this processing is concerned, this is the client's internal assessment, and our only involvement is that we can ask, we can reply to the client's question on the law and how the law should be interpreted, but we cannot conduct this assessment for the client. And the last 2 points are a bit more formal. So there will be a number of documents that we will draft for the client, and we will need to know who is going to be the signatory of those documents. On one side from the founder, and on the other from the new company. And the shareholder should also indicate the tax regime that is going to be applicable. This is usually done by the client tax advisors, but we could also have our tax colleagues offer such assistance. Moving on to the next slide, the registration process is very simple, so there aren't many steps. You see that I tried to estimate the duration for each individual step, but you should know that there are a number of things that can weigh in and which do not depend on either the client or ourselves. So a rough estimate of how long it would take as of being commissioned by a client would be 4 to 5 weeks. The first thing we always do is to obtain the corporate name reservation. This is valid for a 1-month period, and after that, it can be renewed. for successive 1-month periods. It's also very important to have the HQ agreement executed. This is done with the HQ provider that I was referring about earlier. Then after we have collected all the information that I've talked about in the previous slide, we are going to go into to get into drafting the incorporation documents. There are a number of documents that have to be drafted, and there are also a number of documents that will have to be obtained by the client, like commercial register excerpts, certified copies of identity documents. As in Hungary's case, most of them, or most of these with the excerpts and the certified copies would need to be certified or notarized and apostilled. However, none of the drafts that we usually prepare and that we submit with a trade registry require notary or apostille. This requirement has been eliminated from the legislation a couple of years ago in order to make the registration process more smoothly and swiftly. Evidently, we will need to obtain everything has to be submitted in Romanian. So we need to obtain notarized Romanian translations. This is highly dependent on the length of the documents and on the number of the documents that have to be translated. And once we have gathered all this information, we can proceed with filing everything to the trade registry. Filing can be done in one of two ways. You can either do it online through the trade registry online portal, which is the preferred method, or via email. And if you have enough time on your hands, you can also go directly to the trade registry clerk in front of him and file our documents. As far as timing, after you have filed the documents, the next day the trade registry will review the documents, and if everything's in order and there are no observations or any clarifications needed, a day after that, the company would be incorporated and would be registered in the trade registry online portal. This is an ideal case scenario. Nowadays, the trade registry in Romania is having a lot of difficulties because they're going through a makeup in what concerns their online infrastructure. So the whole time frames that I've put in the slide are not applicable anymore, and it's also very unclear to us when this will be sorted out. As far as setting up a bank account goes, I'm not going to get into too much detail, but what I can tell you is that it's something that's highly dependent on the bank. Each and every bank has its own requirements for setting up a bank account. The bank account of a Romanian company, a newly Romanian company, can be set up either prior to the incorporation or after the incorporation. So there are no strict conditions in this regard. And setting up a bank account could also entail that the director would need to be physically in Romania before the bank teller to sign a bunch of forms and to present its signature specimen. Now, for the last part, as I mentioned, we have a lot of clients that ask us about the differences between a Romanian subsidiary and a Romanian branch. And I just wanted to point out the main differences and also differences from a corporate perspective. There are also differences in terms of tax regime, but I'm not going to get into those. So the main advantage for a subsidiary is that it has a distinct legal personality. It's a distinct legal entity than its shareholders, whereas a branch is not, which could trigger to some extent the liability of its parent company in case of any breaches done by the branch. In terms of share capital, the subsidiary must have a share capital, so the minimum would be 1 RON, but it must have a share capital, whereas a branch does not have a share capital and does not issue shares. In terms of activities, the branch is only limited to performing the activity that the parent company performs, whereas the subsidiary has more liberty and more freedom in this regard. On the other hand, the branch does not need to have any complicated or complex corporate governance rules or corporate bodies, as opposed to a subsidiary. So only having a representative of the branch would be enough. And last but not least, a subsidiary has a minimum number of shareholders, 1, and a maximum number of shareholders, 50, which is applicable in case of LLCs. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm here in case you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Andrei, for your comprehensive presentation. I'm checking the Q&A function, and I do not see any questions to you so far, but I think that the first question is applicable to you as well. Would you recommend to request legal assistance to incorporate company in Romania?
Yes. So while it can be done without any legal assistance, it would be fairly more complicated. And it's best to have legal assistance, as Baltor said, from day zero, rather than not have and just come along the way and ask for legal assistance, because it's going to be more complicated for us as well to try to untangle everything that's been happening before.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So, and we are moving forward to incorporation of company in the Czech Republic. And let me introduce our speaker. Petr Samik is a senior associate at DLA Piper, focusing on corporate law, especially M&A, restructuring, and commercial contracts. With more than 20 years experience advising clients on acquisitions and sales, launching business in the Czech Republic, transformation, reorganization, and corporate governance. The floor is yours, Petr.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you all. Good afternoon. I would probably start with the answer to the general questions. I would also recommend engaging a lawyer in order to establish a limited liability company in the Czech Republic. On the other hand, under Czech law, the formation process is quite straightforward, to a certain extent formalized, but can be very, very quick. So if you do not engage a lawyer, you might stuck with certain steps and make the process longer than with us. So under Czech law, the first step, you don't need a limited liability company is also as is in Hungary and Romania, very popular form of business company. Because it's simple, it has a simple management structure and quite straightforward formation process. The first step, you don't need to perform any preparatory steps. The first step is to sign or adopt a formation deed. If we call it founder's deed, if we are talking about one shareholder, if the company will have multiple shareholders, we call it memorandum of association. This is the main document which starts the incorporation process. In order to, it must be adopted in a form of a Czech notarial deed. This is the formal one issue which makes the process quite formal. You have to schedule an appointment with the notary and sign this formation deed. You can engage a lawyer. For that, we need a power attorney from you, or you can visit the notary by your own and sign it. Under Czech law, the formation deed must have certain content. These are the main topics which must be included in the formation deed. First is business name. The company needs to choose its business name. It must also, in each case, contain appendix indicating that it's a limited liability company. In Czech, it's SRO or spol RAO. Before you sign the formation deed, it's good to make a short research in the Czech commercial register whether your envisaged business name is available. If it is, you can freely choose whatever you want. Second, you need to select a company seat for the incorporation process, or strictly speaking, for signing of the formation deed, you don't need to have specific address. You just need to specify the municipality, which is quite flexible, because if you will be moving, for example, within Prague, you don't have to change the formation deed, go to a notary and adopt amendments to the formation deed. So it's recommended and it's allowed under Czech law to specify your seat in the formation deed, just as a municipality, Prague, Brno, whatever city you select within the Czech Republic, and then you will place your office there. Shareholders, Czech limited liability company can have one shareholder or multiple shareholders. Maximum number is not limited. So 2, 3, 10 shareholders, pretty feasible under Czech law. In comparison to some EU countries, we don't apply this prohibition of chaining of limited liability company. I think it's still applicable in Slovakia. In Czechia, it's been changed some 10 years ago. So what does it mean? If it means that limited liability company can have a sole shareholder, and this shareholder can again have limited liability company as a sole shareholder. So the chaining of limited liability companies is allowed under Czech law. Scope of business. Our Trade Licensing Act specifies certain trade licenses from you would need to select. For ordinary scope of business, a general trade license will be sufficient. For these purposes, you don't need any specific qualifications, authorization, nothing. You will just go to a trade licensing office, you will notify selected trade licenses, pay 1,000 Czech crown administrative fee, and that's it. So very simple process. Of course, we have a regulated trade licenses for which the company would need to appoint a specific responsible person with a specific qualification, but it's a long story. I would need to go to more details in that. Registered capital, the minimum statutory limit is 1 Czech crown, but it's not recommended. It's too low, not good to your business partner. So we usually recommend at least 50,000 Czech crowns so that the company can pay the incorporation costs, not to be in red numbers immediately. But on the other hand, if you select 50,000 Czech crowns, it means that the company would need to pay this share capital into a specific bank account, which would need to be opened during the incorporation process, and then convert it into regular bank account once the company has been established. So this step can significantly prolong the incorporation process because of KYC process applied by the bank. I will come back to that on the next slide. So our clients recent preferences of our clients are not to open bank account, at least during the incorporation process. That's why they select this 20,000 Czech crowns threshold for registered capital, which can be paid in cash to the contribution administrator, and basically on a one day deadline. And the company, or in the formation deed, the company would need to specify executive directors or managing directors. The company must have at least one director. Again, maximum number of directors is not prescribed by Czech law. But if you select multiple directors, you would need to determine whether each of them can act on behalf of the company individually, or if there will be any different signing scheme, like if there are 3 directors and one is like director A and the remaining 2 are directors B, so director A, B must in each time sign in jointly with director A. All those schemes are feasible and permissible under Czech law. It's in your full discretion to set it up in the formation deed. On the next slide, please. So I mentioned it at the beginning. If you engage a lawyer, for example, us, we have our standard template formation deed, which can be adjusted to clients' needs, and we can go to a notary and sign the formation deed. This is very simple step. All we need from the client is the POA authorizing us to sign this formation deed. And if the client and if the shareholder and the founder of the company is a corporate entity, we need an excerpt from the relevant commercial register of the shareholder. It must be a hard copy, notarized, and in certain cases apostille, depending on the country from which the shareholder comes from and is registered in there. Or you can go to a notary directly and sign this formation deed by your own. Once the formation deed is signed, there are certain steps following this formation deed before the company can be registered in the commercial register. I already mentioned it. You need to go to a trade licensing office and obtain trade licenses, or you can do it electronically. It's also possible, and it usually takes 5 days to obtain trade licenses. If we are talking about those general trade licenses, if you select or if you need for your business any specific regulated licenses, the process might be longer, for a month, for example. In order to register the company in the commercial register, you need to have a specific address of the registered office. You don't need to present a lease agreement. You just need a consent of the landlord or the owner of the premises, consenting with the company, allocating its registered office in the relevant address. And third, if you select to have a registered capital more than 20,000 Czech crowns, you would need to open a bank account. It means that in 10 years ago, it was very simple. But since then, banks apply extensive KYC process, which usually takes a month. a month, we would need to present to the bank all group structure, all relevant trade certificates, and UBO identification, and usually a representative of the shareholder or the appointed managing director of the company being established must travel to Czech Republic to appear before a bank official in order to be identified in person. So please bear this in mind that if you want to open a bank account for paying a registered capital more than 20,000 Czech crowns, this will prolong the incorporation process by a month at least. And once we have completed all three steps, the company can be registered in the commercial register. We usually engage a notary, which means that we usually have 2 appointments with the notary. First one for execution of the formation deed. Then we obtain trade licenses, open a bank account, find a registered office, and then we have another appointment with the notary, and the notary registers the company basically in one day. Or if you don't want to go through via a notary, you can apply to a register card, and each register card has 5 days to register the company. This process is more formal if the registration documentation package is not complete. The registered card might ask for additional documents. That's why we usually recommend engaging a notary and registering the company through a notary, which is simple, straightforward, and you can check with the notary whether you have a complete package of documents for the company registration.
Sorry for interruption, but unfortunately we are limited in terms of time. So just
okay,
2-3 minutes to wrap up, because we also have a fourth speaker. So thank you.
Okay. So once the company is registered, it can start doing a business. Before registration, it can make only steps related to the incorporation process. No other contracts can be signed, nothing else. Timing, we can register without a bank account. The company can be registered within 2 weeks. If a bank account needs to be opened, it will be 2-3 months because of the KYC process. This is I have one more slide comparing limited liability company. How much time we have, Anna?
2 minutes for your last slide.
Okay, 2 minutes. So similar to Romania, as mentioned by Andrei, very popular is to have a very popular alternative is to have a registered branch which does not have its separate legal personality, which means it's just a group of assets allocated by the parent company into Czech Republic and doing business here. No registered capital needs to be paid, no shares, no dividends are paid. So any financial transfers between the branch and the parent company are just accounting steps, nothing. So which is one of the benefits, that if the parent company needs to transfer any funds from the branch to the up to the parent, no dividends, no shareholder resolution needs to be needs to be adopted. The formation process is less formal. No notarial deed is needed. Simple resolution by the parent company indicating or specifying the branch name, the branch officer, business, seat, and I think that's all. So very, very simple process. But registration with the commercial register is needed, similar to limited liability company. This is all from my side. If you have any question, please do not hesitate to contact me or ask right now.
Thank you very much, Peter. Sorry again for interruption. Unfortunately, we never have enough time to say as much as we want. But yeah, thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. And now we are moving forward, and I will stop sharing my screen because perhaps Veronika might want to share her screen. So our fourth speaker is Veronika Miltseva, senior lawyer of technology and investment at JUS Hutum. She has over 10 years of experience in international corporate, tax business, and intellectual property and IT support. Specifically, Veronika deals with issues related to structuring, managing relationships with developers, designers, and other process participants, IP registration, handling personal data, implementing policies, and more. I'm handing over to you, Veronika.
Thank you a lot for your so interesting presentations. I will be the last but not the least, and I hope you can see me well. We don't have electricity in the building because of the blackouts in Kiev, but I hope that everything will be okay. So I will start to share my screen just for a moment. Do you see it well?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I will speak about setting up a business in Bulgaria. And before that, I will tell maybe a few words about JUS Hutum. JUS Hutum is one of the leading Ukrainian firms, especially in IT and international structuring fields. So we are at the top of 30 law firms in Ukraine. We are 60 lawyers. Also, we have financial analysts, accountants, and auditors. And we have already supported more than 200 startups in their journey, and not only beginning, but also in their development into the big companies. Today, the topic is Bulgaria. So first of all, we'll speak a little bit why Bulgaria, why LLC, a little bit about LLC setup in Bulgaria, bank accounts, and also a small talk about taxes and what else do you need to know. So why Bulgaria? I think that there are three main grounds why companies and startups, especially Ukrainian startups, they choose Bulgaria. The first ground is because of the easy and quick process for the company's registration. It is very easy to set up a company, and it doesn't take a lot of time for that. Second ground, it's not the last low tax rates in Bulgaria. We'll speak about them a little bit later. And the third ground will be that it is easy to implement the business infrastructure, because to set up the company is only the first step. And then there are a lot of other questions which arise, like the team, licensing if needed, all other regulatory questions, etc. So, why LLC or Дружество с ограниченной отговорностью in Bulgaria? Bulgarian law, of course, regulates other forms of companies and economic presence, such as branch, sole proprietor, corporation, and representative office. All of them make sense in different situations, but in order to stop a business, it's the most easiest way, as my colleagues also presented in other countries, will be a limited liability company. Why? Because it's the requirement for the capital is minimum. It's like around €1. The shareholders could be one or more. The only shareholder could be also the sole director of the company. There are no fees for keeping the registration of the company. You don't need to pay anything each year for the support of the company. And of course, the limited liability of the shareholder, which can be also interesting. When we speak about LLC's registration, I think that the procedure is mainly the same, only some aspects may differ from countries. Like, of course, you will need the application into which has to be submitted to the register. And you, of course, you need a package of documents like minutes of the meeting, articles of association, consent and specimen, which should be certified by a notary, form declaration that the manager of the company was not declared insolvent or did not represent a company which was declared to be insolvent, form declaration that the manager will not exercise competitive activity without the consent of the shareholders, and other documents which may be needed depending who will be the shareholder of the company. If it is a legal entity, we will need a certificate of good standing and the documents of the representative for such legal entity, license, permits, form declaration for VAT registration, etc. The information which is needed for the LLC's incorporation will be the name of the company, which has to be unique. Also, we need a registered address of the company in Bulgaria. So this situation can differ. If you are really present in Bulgaria, of course, it is better to rent an office. If you are not present yet, but you foresee to do that, you can use different services for a sort of virtual office, but it will be a real legal address to which all official authorities will send documents, notices, etc. So you need to determine the scope of activities, the amount of capital, the allocation of shares if there are more than one shareholders, and of course passport details of all the shareholders. What I would want also to mention, I think it is very important, and it is like maybe very often out of scope when we foresee to set up a company. Before set up in a company, we are more than one shareholder. It is nice to execute founders agreement. Founders agreement, which can set up different very important aspects of cooperation between the shareholders. And in Bulgaria, there are also some specific restrictions, requirements, or provisions which regulate such founders agreements. And for example, I will just mention one of them. Very often in founders agreement, we can put a lock-in clause, which foresees that the shareholder has to stay some period of time in the company and even work for the company as an employee because of his expertise, because of his specific capacities. In Bulgaria, for example, you can't limit a person to with his freedom to work. So, for example, you need to be very careful with such clauses to lock a person with employment in the company. So, but the founders agreement will permit you to regulate the obligations and rights between the shareholders specifically. So I think this is one of the most important documents you need to foresee, and you can prepare it and execute it before the company's formation. Taxes in Bulgaria, I promise you, Bulgaria is very nice country to do business because of the personal income tax, which is only 10%, and corporate income tax, which is also 10%. Also, they have very good and nice taxes for dividends, like tax on dividends received by individuals will be only 5%. and domestic tax on dividends received by the company from the other company will be 0%, and also dividends received by a Bulgarian company from its daughter companies in other European countries will be also no tax. So I think it is very important and nice to know that regarding taxes, it is very, very prominent to do. What else do you need to know? Maybe I have to mention regarding the bank account opening, which is very important. Of course, you can also always foresee for the company to have not only the bank account, but an account in the payment institutions, which can be very supportive. But in order to pay state payments like taxes, other things, you need to have a bank account. For the bank account, most of the Bulgarian banks, they require physical presence of the director of the company. It's regarding their IML rules or KYC rules. Nowadays, a lot of companies propose online opening of the companies in Bulgaria. The main issue that you will issue, in any case, a power of attorney for the person to go and to open the bank account, and then they will manage how to transfer this bank account to you. So, but mainly you will have to go to the bank for the bank account opening. So what else do you need to know? Business environment, bureaucracy, and staff. I think this is the three main aspects you need to know. Business environment. So a lot of large European companies, they open branches in Bulgaria. You have a lot of fintech environments like French tech, with which you can share your experience, your expectations, your wishes, and maybe create something with them. Bureaucracy, that's what I have mentioned already. So you need to go to the bank for the bank account opening. Internet banking is not always very nice to use. So dealing with some state authorities, it's not so easy, and maybe it can be even more difficult than in Ukraine. So you need to take into account that, even if Bulgaria is trying to improve all the processes and to make life for companies easier. And staff is important because you can incorporate a company in some country, but you need to know whether you can find staff there and what will be your expenses for such staff. In Bulgaria, a lot of Ukrainians for nowadays, and a lot of other foreigners, which you can employ them. So you can easily find staff there. A lot of IT staff also because of the large French companies, for example, which opened branches there. And the wages for the staff are really not high compared to other European countries. So I think that Bulgaria can be a very good choice for a startup because of all these aspects we have mentioned. Don't forget that incorporate a company is not the only thing you need to bear in mind. Remember about founders agreement. I think it will be a very good instrument for you all. And also you have to remember that you need to see also about some licensing and regulating and other specific requirements which can be in the country you choose to incorporate, for example, Bulgaria. So I thank you for your attention and for your patience. I hope that it was very useful for you, and we are always ready to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Veronica. It was really interesting indeed. So while I'm checking our Q&A function, I will ask you the same question that I ask all speakers. Would you recommend to request legal services to go through the incorporation process in Bulgaria?
Always. I think that it doesn't concern only Bulgaria, but we have a lot of clients, for example, who choose to incorporate in other countries which are very known for their high electronic services, that you can do anything online. But we have a lot of cases when they're turning back because they can't go until the end because of some specific aspects. And also, as we all have mentioned that in order to prepare good and useful for founders corporate documents, you better to have a lawyer for that.
Thank you very much. So I see that we do not have questions for now, but I think that the participants will be able to send the follow-up questions a little bit later to the organizers. Thank you very much, dear speakers, for your time and expertise that you shared with us. Yeah, and I back to you, Anastasia.
Anna and all the speakers, thank you so much for your involvement and for your time. We had over 120 registrations. However, because of the power seizures right now in Ukraine, as you might know, the live attendance rate might be affected because of that. So we will follow up with a recording of our workshop, full recording to all of the interested parties, and hopefully it will bring a lot of help to our Ukrainian startups. Abby, we are back to you and to our general slides. And dear participants, we just wanted to let you know that we'll have 4 minutes break. And then in 7:45 Kyiv time, 6:45 CEST, we will be back with the section number 3, which will be dedicated to investment. How to raise investment in this region. And we have created an amazing panel discussion moderated by Ivan Petrenko. So please join us in a few minutes, and we'll proceed to section number 3. Thank you. Hi all. Hope you had a great 3-4 minutes break. And we are back to business. Abby, can we do the last section? Last, but one of the most interesting ones is how to raise investment. And today with us, we have a moderator, Ivan Petrenko. He's a Ukrainian entrepreneur and ecosystem builder, managing partner at Angel One Fund, an early stage VC, and CEO at SFE Accelerator, a startup accelerator. Ivan, the floor is yours.
Yes, hello. Thank you for the introduction. Could you let me share my screen?
Sure. Now you can do that.
Okay, I think I can. Okay, I hope you can see the screen and hear me well.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, great. So hello everyone, and welcome to our workshop. As I mentioned, my name is Ivan Petrenko, and I'm managing partner at Angel One, which is a Ukrainian early stage startup fund. And I would like, before we continue with our panel, to just briefly tell you about the general ecosystem overview in Central and Eastern Europe, because this is very important in terms of what we're talking and who we'll be talking to. Just to give you a very short perspective of what's going on. So some of the global VC trends, we see that the first quarter of 2024 marked the second lowest global startup funding decline. So we're sort of getting back to where we were at 2018. Although during the first quarter of 2024, the funding amount in CEE countries estimated to 66 billion, which might seem a very good and substantial amount of money, but it shows a significant 20% year-on-year decrease. And comparing to the previous quarter, so the fourth quarter of 2023 was recorded the lowest funding level in the past 6 years. This is when we're talking about the global VC trend, which is not that pessimistic in Eastern Europe, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. If we're talking about investment trends and sectors, the AI maintains the most hyped sector. And according to Crunchbase, the AI sector secured over $11 billion in investment, which is around 17% of global funding. Although despite its presence and the hype, the healthcare and biotech remain the largest sector for funding. And they raised about almost 16 billion in funding, which is around 24% of the total global funding in Q1. If getting back to the CE startup ecosystem, it shows a bit more growth than the global trend, which I'm very positive about. And since the 2019, it showed almost 2.5 times growth by the end of 2023. So over the 5 past years, the total value of the startups rose to $213 billion from what it was back in 2019, almost $90 billion US dollars. And you can see here on the graphic the most prominent countries that value of startups of which are growing. And startups that are supported by VC in CE countries that are backed by VC grew at $21 billion in value within that time frame. Another positive trend that we're seeing is raising investment by most known and largest VCs, mostly growth stage in these countries. And as you can see, more than $2 billion US dollars were attracted by the CE company. Well, actually, the CE company secured to a little bit over $2 billion from the largest players. And the CE investors raised almost $2 billion since 2023, which shows that investors do sit on the money and they're looking for strong teams and strong startups to invest in. If moving to what's going on in the first quarter of 2024, we still don't have the second quarter numbers. So over the period of 3 months, the number of funding rounds in CE was 157. And the total value of funding closed was over 640 million euros, I'm sorry. And you can see here the countries with the highest number of funding rounds. Estonia leads with 31 rounds, and Poland is right behind with 30 rounds. Some countries staying very closely behind. And here on the infographic, you can see that, yes, Estonia leads this graphic with Czechia, Croatia, and Poland right behind. And Estonia with over 170 million euros raised by the startups. Here's just to give you an infographic perspective how it looks, the chart, and you can see that the biggest players so far are Estonia, Poland, Czechia, and Bulgaria. If to show the perspective of the last 3 years, you can see that the investment, as I said, was slowing down in comparison to 21-22. But now in 2024, there is a slight optimism that we're slowly but gradually getting back on track, although we're still far away from the numbers of the post-COVID years. The most popular industry remained for the last couple of years unchanged, which is software, AI, fintech, healthcare, energy. These remain the most popular sectors to invest in. And here, just to show you a few largest rounds in Q1, with around 100 million euros, a few startups that raised. There were a few startups in the second quarter of 2024 that raised a much larger amount of money, but I did not include them because we don't have the whole picture yet. Here's a list of most active investors. There are quite a few of them, and they are quite active, and they have quite enough of the capital to look for most prominent and passionate startups. And we will hear today from some of the best ones in how to apply and how to become their portfolio company. And just before I finish my short presentation, as you most probably will be looking for the investments, I'd like to stress out just 2 slides on what we investors look when we talk to teams. So we want the startup teams to understand and clearly know the ideal profile of their client and have a clear vision of the product, especially in the long term. We want to see the dynamics of the key industry metrics. So we want to see not only the customer acquisition cost and the lifetime value, but we want also to see the month-on-month growth and the growing number of users of customers, especially the paying customers, and the loan burn rate. The startups also should have a prominent team. Obviously, everyone's looking for that. The team should be competent with high motivation and passion and ambitions to become the leading company of the world and have, as I mentioned already, a clear vision of how to achieve those main benchmarks and milestones. And the team must clearly understand the market which they want to enter and where they want to grab their chunk of the market. So these are the most important things that investors look at, but we will hear more about that from them directly. And to wrap the whole thing up, if to put it much more simple and keep it very simple, is what we want to know is, have you figured out the problem? Have you figured out the market? Have you figured out the client? And have you figured out the sales? And if you figured out these four main components and you can clearly and concisely tell them to your potential investor, I'm sure they'll be a line waiting for you and wanting you to become their portfolio company. I thank you for that time. I tried to be very short, as I was told by the organizers of the conference. And actually, if that's all right, I'm ready to continue with our panel discussion.
Yeah, sure. Abby, can you please share the slide with our panelists? And Ivan, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And before we kick off with our questions, I'd like to present you our panelists, and I'm happy to do that. So we have Belazar Marinov, who is an investment associate at 11 Ventures with over a decade experience in venture capital. He has worked with a portfolio of over 100 tech startups across Central and Eastern Europe. And he's also a contributor to nonprofits supporting entrepreneurship and co-founder of the Association of Bulgarian Leaders and Entrepreneurs. Thank you for joining us. We also have Malin Stefanescu, who is a prominent tech entrepreneur, mentor, and tech ecosystem grower, and one of the most experienced angel investors in the Romanian market with a portfolio of 20 startups and a couple of exits, which is very important. Malin also VP member of the board at Tech Angels, and the first and strongest angel investor network in Romania. And previously he held a chairman position for the association and contributed to the tripling of its size and opening up to the regional and international networking with Business Angels Europe and European Business Angel Networks. And last but not least, Roman Novacek. Roman has been leading the investment team at Presta Ventures for 6 years now, investing in over 50 startups throughout the CE region. And during this time, he has successfully guided multiple companies from pre-seed to Series B and actually acquisitions. I'm not sure about the first two panelists, but if I may talk about Presta Ventures, I know that you have, I think, 4 Ukrainian teams in your portfolio, which makes me very proud. So guys, again, thank you for making it and for being part of this panel. And I'd like to kick off with the first question for listeners and for whoever's joining us for this panel. What do you pay attention for during when you look at the startups? How do you evaluate the potential of the startups, and what are the most important things for you? Who'd like to start? Because I'd like to hear from all of you. I know that every fund, every angel network has its own evaluations, but could you elaborate a little bit more on your secrets? Maybe Roman, maybe you could start?
Yeah, I think you touched on some of the stuff already in the presentation, and it of course depends on the stage the startups are in. The more early it is, the more it's about the founder, and the more you're evaluating how ambitious he is, if the idea really makes sense, how big is the market. and throughout the time he progresses with the startup. And like bigger the startup is, the more you're evaluating the traction, if they have customers, how the customers like it, if they really like it and cannot live without the product, or if it's just some product for them. And then you look at more at the metrics, how fast it is growing, how efficiently it is growing, and from that you just put it all together and then make a decision. For every startup it is different. There's like no single formula for all of those to put together.
But to open up a little bit more, like what would be the most important slide for you in the startup's pitch deck? If you had to name one slide, I know you have to have all like 10 or 15 of them, but if you had to pick just one, what would be that?
It is the traction slide.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll talk about more. We'll talk a bit more about that. Malin, could you please pick it up from here and say what are your main metrics that you evaluate startups upon?
Well, besides the one you've mentioned already, I would add two very important ones for me. And that's firstly the team. And for me, that's the most important slide. And it's not only about the way they look or their names, but it's about what they did and what is, the wow factor for what they did, if they had any achievement or something like that. And so that's on the startup behalf. On my behalf is how I can help them. And as a business angel, if I don't see ways to help them, I wouldn't invest. I think it's an important thing for both the investor and the startup to have some added value from the investor besides money.
That's very important. Thank you for pointing that out. Belizar, could you please step up?
Thank you. Adding to what Malin and Roman has said, I would add for us, it's very important that the startup is relevant to the areas in which we have expertise. We as an investor like to spend time with our companies and to help them, but we don't understand and we're not an expert in every field. So if a startup comes to us and they're in one of our verticals of focus, and maybe they can name one of our portfolio companies that is related to their field as a potential, collaboration. This makes us spend more time with, let's say, this opportunity. And another thing about traction, we are, ready to consider companies with less traction if they fit these areas of expertise. And also, we take to account the business model and how innovative, let's say, what they're trying to do is. To give us an example, if you're an online grocery company, we would expect to see millions in revenue, and this would still count as early stage. Whereas if you're a health tech company, you might not have revenue and still be considered an early stage for us. And sometimes I know it's a bit confusing because it's not that clear what is the level of traction. It might be, let's say, more uniform in later stage companies, but for the early stage, it could vary.
Would you tell? Hello?
Sorry, what was the question? Was that for me?
Can you hear me? Because I think
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great, thank you. Could you tell me, because I might lost the connection for a second, what would be your slide? So would it be traction or team?
I would say for us, the most important thing, whether to look at an investment deck, is whether the industry matches our focus and expertise. And from then we look and take into account all the things that have been mentioned by Roman and Malin.
Thank you very much. And to continue the first question, but from the different perspective, like what are the red flags? What is something that if you see team performing or not doing would be a red flag for you, for your fund, that you would not consider even talking or continue discussing the possibility of investing with a team? Maybe Malin, we can start with you.
Okay, for me, let's say the most red flag possible is anything related to trust or mistrust. So if I catch a lie, then I stop talking to the startup. So honesty is very important in my opinion, and building a relationship means building trust. And sometimes this is difficult. So in my opinion, the startups should not exaggerate when presenting what they do, should be honest and open and looking for a partnership, not, looking to trick us.
Thank you. Roman?
Yeah, for me, it is related to the founders' commitment and their knowledge of the market. If they're like not sure, like if they want to commit full time to the startup, then like there's like not much reason why I should like look into it and take it as a serious idea. And as well, if they like did not do their research before coming with a pitch deck. So if they like don't know their competition, don't know the market landscape in the countries they are in, or like they want to conquer in like the nearest year.
But could you tell that more? Like, do you give teams a second chance, or they have to come prepared right from the start?
Yeah, like always, it's never that like when you decline someone, you decline them forever. For me, it's like we invested in a startup that like we gave them a second chance for like 4 times throughout the like 2.5 years that we were meeting, and then we invested. So sometimes it happens that they fix it, and it's good that you have the relationship to see them fix it. But for the next meeting, you need to see some progress, that like they fixed what they needed to fix, or they like move forward a bit.
Thank you. Belizar, same question for you, the red flags you have.
Yeah, there are many possible red flags, but let's say one thing that sometimes would break the discussion very early on is a cap table that is not suitable for outside investment. It could be, a single founder, but it also can be some other parties that are not in the management of the company owning a very big percent. This could be early investors, it could be some strategics, etc. It's hard to comprehend all the possible scenarios, but this could be something that is a deal breaker. But sometimes, if we like the company, we can discuss ways to mitigate this. So it's not a complete, showstopper, but it's something important.
Thank you. Another thing that I have, like a quick, very practical question, because I know that many teams ask that in order to become your portfolio company, or at least consider that chance, do they need a registration in any of the countries that you represent, or it is not a big deal for you? Just a quick question for our teams to know.
I would just say about us, we don't have a geographic limitation. So we could invest in entities that are based in various countries. It could be Europe, it could be US. Sometimes actually we encourage the company to create a headquarter in an investor-friendly jurisdiction, but it's mostly thinking about the next round. So yeah, that's we are quite flexible.
Thank you. And Malin, Roman?
For us, I believe it's important to have a presence in a European country. So not necessarily Romania, but in the EU. And we had this in the past with a startup from Macedonia, and somehow we discussed together and they agreed to open up in a European country. European as in EU, not.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Roman?
Yeah, for us it is very similar. We prefer the jurisdiction in a European Union, and often it's like for the good of the startup, if they want to like reach the next stages for the investment, they invest the next stage investors often require them to relocate. Sometimes even they require the companies to relocate from like in Czech Republic to like US or UK, Netherlands. But yeah, we're still quite flexible with the jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you very much. Another question that I have, okay, I have many, but still, we had a discussion recently, like should a startup when applying for investment should be persistent or consistent? You know, because some startups think that they have to be very persistent and approach the fund as many times as possible in order to convince them that they are ready for an investment. On the other hand, I think that startups should be more consistent, which is do their homework and approach the fund when they're ready and when they know the answers to what the criteria of the fund are. How do you regard that in your funds and networks? Maybe Belizar, let's start with you.
I would say the founders should, exercise common sense. I think both of those characteristics are important for a founder. You know, we like to see founders that are, persistent. But when we say to someone, no, we try to provide feedback. I mean, we cannot provide feedback to everybody, but that's why we encourage companies to come to us through a reference. And then we give them a few points. Some of them might be related to items that they can fix. Sometimes it could be to items that nobody can fix, like our mandate, let's say, is not including this type of industry or whatever. So if the company or the founders come back to us 6 months later and they have worked on the feedback, this is a great thing to see. I encourage companies to create an investor newsletter. So you could include some mentors or potential investors there and keep them updated, let's say once every 2 months. Investors like to get engaged when they see that since the last meeting there has been progress. So it's a good thing to show.
Thank you. That's a very good advice. Malin, if you can talk.
I like both persistency and consistency. I believe they're both needed. And as I said before, for business angels, I think it's very important to be able to help the startups. So they need to be involved. They need to get involved. And I think that's a good thing for everybody, for the startup, for the business angel, and for eventual venture capital firms coming afterwards. They can rely on the help from the angels. So we need to be engaged.
Thank you. Roman, your turn.
I prefer the consistency, and I believe like getting funding from a VC is about building a relationship. So often first time you approach them, you get rejected, it's too early, or you get some feedback, and then when they see you working on it, progressing, then they become very interested. sometimes we see founders that are persistent too much, that they're like only focusing on fundraising. The business is not doing that well because they're not focusing on it, and then it's harder and harder to get the funding.
Yeah, okay, thank you. These are very good advice for startups here. I'd like to move a bit in a different direction with my questions. We see that over the past couple of years, the startup valuations have gone down, and that VC are not so eagerly investing. In regard of that, could you say, is risk valuation any different now than it was, let's say, 2, 3, or 4 years ago? I mean, we have economic recession, there's war going on. So how do you assess risks? Is it any different from what it was a couple of years ago? Let's start with you, Malin.
Obviously, there are higher risks now, so therefore there should be higher benefits, and it's obvious that investors are looking to balance the risk-benefit ratio, and that's why they do expect startups to be not necessarily to come with a lower valuation, but to present a better opportunity. And yes, I agree, the valuations decreased in the last years.
Okay, and do you still get a lot of teams that overvalue themselves, or do teams understand that their valuations have to go down in order to be able to talk to investors?
What I can see around here is a lot of startups decide not to go for full rounds, and they're looking for bridges more often than they used to, waiting for better times when they can get a higher round. I think, yes, of course, there are still startups coming up with very high valuations, but they are less likely to take investments than they used to.
Thank you. Roman, could you talk more about your risk evaluation and assessment?
Yeah, I think it's a result of like a bit less supply of like money from the investor side. So the investors are a bit more risk averse, and they are right now that takes more time for them to pick the startup, and with that, yeah, they like expect a better return, and they also have to like count with like a worse fundraising environment for the startup. In the next round, they have to have some reserves in case the startup does not do well. And I think then like if the valuation moves down and the startups need the same amount of money to survive and like to grow with that, then like it gets reflected in the percentage that the startup is like giving away during the fundraising round. And sometimes there's amount of percentage that it does not make sense to do the deal. And I think that creates environment for more creative deals. We see deals that are structured in like tranches or with like flexible valuation or the more convertible loans than it was before.
That's very valuable. Thank you, Roman, very much. Belizar, could I ask you the same question about the risk assessment?
We as investors are impacted by economic cycles, no doubt about it. It's more an art than a science, especially at the early stage where we operate. If we like a company and we think the valuation that the founders are having in mind is too high, we're willing to sit down and discuss how we can structure the deal, as Roman mentioned. And there are tools that we can use, and we as investors would be willing, down the road, even to decrease our share and give it back to the founders if this makes, the chances of the company to raise further round greater. So from our experience, the founders that are focused on executing quick on the opportunities, they find a way to work out a deal with their investors, and even sometimes raising a bit more money so they could have the comfort to weather, let's say, an upcoming slowdown in the market, etc. I would say valuations sometimes could be a contentious issue, but usually with the best founders, it wasn't, I would say, from our experience looking back.
Yeah, okay, I got it. And another, perhaps one of the last questions, because we're running out of time slowly. What are the industries that you're the most interested in? I mean, I understand the biotech, health tech, AI, it's okay, but still, what are you focusing in? What do you think is the most valuable for your organizations? What do you lack at? Roman, maybe I can start with you.
I think right now for a lot of VCs, it's AI, if you can count it as an industry, that you're developing some application for consumers on top of it. But if not, I think right now for me, it's I think still a bit fintech that's interested, and like something that I still see there's quite a lot of innovation to be done. There's new emerging technologies that you can build something on top of them, and yeah, it's quite easily scalable if you find a good product market fit, and then it can become a great company.
But do you think, may I ask, do you think that we're already on the stage where teams understand that AI is not a product, but rather a tool, and that we're not talking about developing AI as a product, but rather enhancing the tool and thus enhancing the product? Do you see that teams already understand that?
I think most of them, the most that like end up doing the startup, I feel like they understand that like the startup has to work without the AI as well, and the AI is just enhancing it, and they need to approach it that way.
Thank you. Malin, could you please tell me what are the industries that you mostly look at?
Tech Angels is agnostic of technology, so we like to see technology startups, but not necessarily coming from one direction or another. So yeah, we are agnostic.
Okay,
for us, the areas that we are most closely following right now, I would say, are fintech and embedded finance in particular, health tech, mostly digital business models, future of work, and the various AI applications there. It's kind of a horizontal rather than a vertical. And agri-tech and food tech, again, mostly digital business models where there are fewer in these last areas. We do have a number of hardware companies in our portfolio, but I would say we are a bit more selective when it comes to hardware business models.
Thank you. And one last question from me to all of you, because we have Ukrainian teams here predominantly. So I'd like to ask you, I mean, the easiest one would be, as I mentioned, Presta Ventures, because you have 4 Ukrainian portfolio teams. But could you tell me, do you get a lot of Ukrainian applications? And if you do you see any difference or any specifics from Ukrainian teams when they apply to your networks or your funds?
We do have applications from Ukrainian teams. I wouldn't say there are that many. And in terms of specific patterns, I cannot really name ones. Generally, when we look at projects, we like to see them being international or having international markets in mind from day one. But I wouldn't say this applies only to how we screen Ukrainian projects. It's about all companies. So sorry, I wasn't very specific, but indeed we have seen a number of interesting Ukrainian projects. We haven't made such an investment yet, but I guess we'll be making one pretty soon.
Got it. Thank you. Exciting news. Roman?
Yeah, I think compared to startups from other countries, Ukrainian startups, they're like much more likely work remotely, and they're like more used to it, how to build a team that's more remote due to like dispersion across some countries with the teams, so they can like pick from a bit bigger talent pool, and I think that helps them. And also we see a lot of hard work from the team on what they're doing, and like the output per person from with the team size, that it's a bit higher than for the startups from other countries.
Thank you, Roman. Malin, maybe you have some information.
Not really. There were just a few startups coming from Ukraine, even though Romanians are quite friendly and willing to help. So it's like a lot of people are open to discuss. I'd love to see them as different as possible. We like different startups or differentiated startups. So yeah.
Thank you. And because, I mean, that was a great, last sentence that you, Malin, finished with. And because we have questions from the audience, and the next question is exactly, asking what you just said. And the question is from one of the anonymous attendees: what would be the best strategy to reach out to the VC? Which is exactly what you were saying. So could you please tell us what is the best strategy to reach out to your funds? Malin, maybe if we finish with you, could you start with answering that question?
Well, it's good if you can go directly to somebody. I mean, we are a group of 140 investors. It's good if you can get to talk to one of those investors. Otherwise, the process is very transparent. It's easy. It's nothing complicated. It's a web platform that you have to register, and then an online pitching that happens every week, so quite often. Nothing special, but it's good to have somebody to, a supporter, let's say, in the group.
Thank you. Roman, how about you? How to approach you? How not to be annoying on one hand, but then persistent enough to be heard and to get a chance to draw your attention?
I think reaching out through someone as like a recommendation, that is like the best way how to do it. But also I'm quite active, like reading the messages on the LinkedIn, or if you can submit a deck on the website, it will get to someone, and someone will like evaluate it and then like decide what to do after. So if you send at least a pitch deck, it will get looked at from our side.
Okay, thank you. And another question, because Malin already answered it online, is the ideation stage the right stage to reach out, or is that too early in your case?
In our case, it's often too early.
Okay, thank you. And Belizar, please, the same question to you. Like, what's the right approach to your fund?
I would say, coming through a reference through someone from our network maximizes the chances. Yes, we do look at all the incoming decks. and contact form submissions through our website. But then we have a limited time, so you have to tick all the other boxes in terms of traction, in terms of geographic focus, in terms of industry. Whereas if you come through a reference, we may see something that otherwise we would have missed.
Idea stage, is that the one you would look
Idea
at?
stage, I would say it's early for us. But if you're coming with a strong reference, sometimes we would engage with a startup and provide some, let's say, initial feedback.
Okay, thank you. Guys, thank you very much for being part of that panel. Thank you for your expertise and your experience that you've shared. Ivan,
I think you blocked your mic at the last moment.
I'm sorry. So guys, once again, thank you very much. Delizar Marinov, Malin Stefanescu, and Roman Novacek. Guys, again, thank you very much for sharing your experience. It was a pleasure, and it was very valuable information for our startups. Anastasia, I guess the floor is yours.
Yeah, just to remind that we had more than 120 applicants, and they will receive the recording, and we will also share it through our Seeds of Bravery network. We also have an investor literacy program, which I will follow up you with, and maybe you'll be we'll be grateful if you could join that program. We'll send you the details just if you're interested to become more integrated into the Seeds of Bravery project. We would appreciate that. And a round of applause to Ivan from me and from the organization team, because the discussion was so interactive, and I was like listening and like, okay, I need to re-listen this again and again, because the insights were definitely there. Appreciate your time. Have a good night to you all. Dear participants, dear Abby, we can return to our slides to wrap up a meeting. Dear heroes who have been here for more than 3 hours, this was our market discovery workshop dedicated to Bulgaria, Romania, Czech Republic, and Hungary. And I'm sure that you got a lot of insights. We will be able to share with you the presentation as well as the recording in a while. Right now, I want to present you more opportunities to discover new markets. We'll have on the 16th of October, Italy, on the 13th of November, Germany, Spain and Portugal, France, and more are to come. The registration link is here, or you can also register on the same link that you've registered for this workshop. We are also encouraging you to apply for the program and next cutoff dates. We'll have the next open call deadline it's on the 25th of September. And of course, visit the Seeds of Bravery social media, our website for all the updates. I really hope you enjoyed that. Next slide, have one. Yes, this is our communication channels if you would like to share the feedback. And also, if you need any contacts of experts who have been here today, please reach out to us and we'll be able to share it with you. Our team is pleased and happy that you've been with us today, and we're wishing you a safe night and a good evening, and good luck with developing great startups that would change the world and penetrate other European markets, showing that Ukraine stands. Ukraine is brave, and we can do that. Thank you so much for being here, and goodbye.